Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto returns from training and married with 7, part 1. Subscribe if you enjoy the video, and also check the description. So let's begin the story. Naruto Uzumaki, container of the nine-tailed demon fox known as Kyuubi, whimsically entered the gates of the ever-famous Konohagakure, also known as the village hidden in the leaves. Recently, Naruto had left with his lecturer sensei, Jiraiya, on a 3-year training trip. Throughout that time, Naruto had learned many things. Most notable was his increased height, standing higher than his friends that had before dwarfed him. His voice changed from loud and shrill to deep and mature. As well as learning new techniques and strategies, his personality had grown as well. While he still kept that cheerful and optimistic personality that he was known for, he had become a lot quieter. Jiraiya beat into him early in the trip the importance of a ninja to know when to be silent, and he had adapted to that lesson. He was much more chivalrous now also, being polite and courteous in front of members of the opposite gender. Not only his height and personality, but his looks had changed for the better as well. He no longer wore his hit-eye tie on his head, but wore it around his neck, letting his wild and unruly hair hang down. His muscles could easily be seen through his black shirt that he wore, choosing to finally hang up his old orange jumpsuit. His deep blue eyes were still as vibrant as ever. Naruto stood in the middle of the road, taking in the scene in front of him. To him, Konoha hadn't changed at all, except for Tsunade's face next to the 4th Hokage's face on the Hokage monument. He stood there taking in the familiar smell of ramen, the laughing of innocent children as they went about their way playing ninja, the hustle of the people going about their business. It was all so nostalgic and Naruto was knocked out of his reverie by a fist knocking him in the back of the head. "Are you just going to stand there all day or are you coming?" Jiraiya said exasperatedly while walking in front of him. "What did you do that for?" Iro-sen, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head in an annoyed but calm tone. Ignoring the question, Jiraiya began to walk forward. Naruto simply followed along, mumbling something about old loveless perverts under his breath. As they passed bystanders, Jiraiya noticed that Naruto was receiving a lot of attention from the female population. He watched as every time Naruto passed a woman, her face would grow red, and she would begin to eye his face and body, as other women would swoon at him from a distance. Naruto, being the oblivious idiot that he was, didn't notice this at all, and took it as some sort of disease. Jiraiya sighed at his pupil. He would kill for a chance to be in Naruto's shoes. They entered the Hokage Tower doors and came across Shizune sitting at the front desk. She was currently filing paperwork behind the desk when she noticed the 2 males who just walked in. "I wonder who those 2 are. They both seem familiar, but the young one looks really hot." She thought to herself while staring at the aforementioned blonde. "Can I help you too?" she asked politely. "Hey, Shizune-chan. How have you been?" Naruto asked cheerily. "Do I know you?" she asked, feeling as if she knew who the boy was, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. "You don't remember me?" he asked, disheartened. "I'm going to become Hokage. Believe it. Does that ring any bells?" he said. It took a moment for it to click, a few moments actually, before she realized who she was talking to, and she quickly latched onto him. "Naruto, it's been so long. I can't believe it." She said, letting go of him slowly. "It's good to see you too, Shizune-chan," he replied smiling. She almost melted at the sight of his bright beautiful blue eyes. "Are you two done flirting or can Naruto and I go see Tsunade?" Jiraiya said in an annoyed manner. Shizune backed away quickly, blushing at what Jiraiya said. "Iro-sen, what is flirting?" Naruto asked innocently. Both Shizune and Jiraiya fell down in anime style, surprised at how dense Naruto could be. "Sometimes I wonder how you get dressed every morning, Naruto." Jiraiya said quietly to himself. "What did you say?" Iro-sen and Naruto asked, not hearing what Jiraiya said. "Nothing. Come on, let's do it." Jiraiya said, walking toward the stairs that led up to Tsunade's office. "Naruto. It's so good to see you," Tsunade screamed as she enveloped Naruto in a bone-crushing hug. "Aba-chan, you're hurting me. I can't feel my." Naruto was cut off by the sound of his ribs cracking. "I think you applied too much pressure." Tsunade-sama. Shizune said with a sweat dropping in anime style. After a few quick seals, Naruto was healed of his injuries and back on his feet in no time, properly thanking Shizune for healing him. "Sorry Naruto. I got a little carried away there." Tsunade said embarrassedly. "That's okay, Aba-chan. I forgive you," he said, rubbing the back of his head while he sheepishly grinned. "Oh, and Naruto," she said warmly. "Yes," he answered back, looking straight into eyes. "It's good to have you back, but don't call me Aba-chan." She punched him square in the face, sending him straight through the wall, leaving a gaping hole and an unconscious Naruto lying under a pile of rubble. "Did you have to hit him so hard?" Jiraiya asked, squinting at the thought of the pain. "What the heck was that?" a certain pink-haired Kunoichi said to no one in particular. She had been peacefully practicing her medical at the time when she was interrupted by a loud crashing sound followed by a rumble. "Someone must have upset Tsunade-sama again," she said, sighing as she went up the stairs to see if the person wasn't injured too badly. She was about to open the door to Tsunade's office when she saw a blonde, blue-eyed, and in her opinion, highly attractive boy leaning against a wall opposite of a hole covered in rubble. He must have made Tsunade-sama extremely mad, she thought as she ran up to his limp body to check if he was even still alive. First, she checked his arms and shoulders to see if they were broken. She noted how his biceps and triceps were extremely well built. Not in the bodybuilder sense where they were too big, but big enough to be noticeable. She lifted up his shirt to verify that his abdominals and ribcage weren't damaged. After a few moments, the realization hit her that she was actually groping his chest, feeling over his well-toned abs and his perfect pectorals. She jerked her hands away and mentally scolded herself for thinking about things like that while a person was injured. Shaking it off, she proceeded to fix his clothing and pick him up off of the ground, blushing madly at how good his skin felt against hers. Sorry for barging in like this, Tsunade-sama, but I found this person lying on the ground outside your office. Sakura said, carrying him into her office and setting him gently onto the ground. After a few seconds, Naruto began to stir. What happened? Naruto said groggily as he sat up and stood to his feet. The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was the sight of vibrant pink hair. Wait. There's only one person I know that has pink hair. Naruto thought. Hey, Sakura-chan, he said softly. She stared at him for a moment before speaking. Do I know you? She asked, looking at him questioningly. Naruto's head hung low with a look of defeat evident on his face. Doesn't anyone remember me? Come on. You would think blonde hair, blue eyes, and whisker marks would stand out in someone's memory. Naruto said. It was at that point that Sakura realized who he was. Wait, Naruto. Is that really you? She asked disbelievingly. The one and only, he replied as he flashed her one of his famous foxy grins. She ran up to him and quickly wrapped her arms around his torso while giving him a girlish scream. There's no way you're Naruto. I can't believe it. You've gotten so much taller and you got rid of the orange jumpsuit. You look so much better in black, and she was stopped by Naruto putting a finger over her lips. It's good to see you, Sakura-chan, Naruto said happily. Sorry. It's just that you've changed so much. She apologized. Well, I'm not the only one that has changed, Sakura-chan. I have to say, I like the new outfit and I'm glad you decided to keep your hair short. It looks good on you. Naruto said as Sakura blushed the darkest shade of red that she has ever blushed before. Nice, kid. Keep that up and you'll be in her pants in no time. Jiraiya thought as he saw the scene developing in front of him. Sakura, shouldn't you be practicing your healing techniques right now? Tsunade said accusingly. My apologies, Tsunade-sama. I'm sorry Naruto, but I must return to training. She said. Don't worry about it, Sakura-chan. But you can make it up to me by letting me treat you to ramen tonight. He said grinning. She mulled it over for a few seconds before making her decision. Alright, Naruto. I'll meet you there at 8 o'clock. Goodbye Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama, Shizune-sama. Goodbye Naruto-kun. She said Naruto's name as seductively as possible. Bye Sakura-chan, Naruto said, waving goodbye to her. Hey, Tsunade, I just remembered that I haven't taken the Chunin exam yet. Do you know when the next one is? Naruto asked. Actually, the next one isn't that far from now, and Sakura hasn't taken it either. But since you don't have a third teammate anymore because of, well, you know, Tsunade said in a sorrowful voice. I can't let you take it. What if I find someone to replace him? Naruto said as the idea popped in his head. I don't see why not. If you can find someone, then I'll let you take it. She said, striking the nice guy pose. Thanks Tsunade. You're the best. Well, I better get going. See ya, Iro-senin. He said, walking out the door. Hey Naruto. I need you to meet me tonight at 9. Jiraiya yelled after him. And do, Iro-senin. See ya. And I said to stop calling me that, you little oh forget it. Jiraiya said, sighing. He really has grown up, hasn't he? Jiraiya, Tsunade said, leaning back in her chair and putting her hands behind her head. Yeah, I guess. He said, leaning against a wall and crossing his arms. He turned around and looked out of the window to see him leaping from roof to roof. Yep, just like his father, Jiraiya thought as he stared proudly at the blonde boy. After training for several hours, Naruto decided that it was time to go meet Sakura at Ichikaru's ramen bar. His previous workout had left him covered in sweat from head to toe. Carrying a 1.5-ton boulder while wearing 500-pound weights on both of your legs and arms, all the while walking on water, will do that to you. Before going, he decided to go to his house to take a shower. His apartment was very clean, having not been used in 3 years. Ignoring that thought, he proceeded to take a shower, which he finished quickly due to him running low on time. Deciding that his training clothes would be inappropriate, he donned a black shirt with the word Konoha written in red letters and black and tan cargo shorts and headed out the door. As he got nearer, he could smell the ramen radiating off the bar. It's been a long time since he had Ichikaru's ramen and could hardly wait to taste it in his mouth. He noticed Sakura already seated when he approached and took a seat next to her. Hey, Sakura-chan, Naruto said happily. Oh, hello Naruto, she replied. "Can I help you too?" a girl with long brown hair asked as she approached them from behind the counter. "Yes. Sakura-chan, what would you like to eat?" Naruto asked her, already knowing what he wanted. "I would like to order your diet ramen please," she said. "Give me 2 bowls of miso ramen, 3 bowls of ramen," and Naruto was cut off by Sakura placing a hand over his mouth. "I think that's good for now." She said, sweat dropping. How he managed to stomach all that food was beyond her. A couple of minutes later she brought out their food. As soon as they received it, Naruto began swallowing it as if there wasn't going to be any ramen left in the world. Soon, 5 bowls turned into 15 bowls, and he showed no sign of stopping. But the way he ate it surprised Sakura the most. Instead of the way he used to eat it, wildly slurping it down, he ate it maturely and gracefully, eating it quickly, but without spilling a drop anywhere on his face or the ground. She noticed that the waitress was sweating, trying desperately to keep up with Naruto's pace. Of course, Naruto tunes out everything else when he's eating, so he didn't notice this. "I'm sorry about this. Sometimes he gets really hungry and he can't control himself." She apologized to her. "Oh, that's quite alright. I'm used to it. Your friend here kind of reminds me of this little boy that used to come by here every day. He had blonde hair and bright blue eyes and could eat his body weight in ramen. Back then he was about the same age as me and he always cheered me up when he came." She reminisced. "Could I have another bowl please, Am-chan?" Naruto asked. She looked him over, noticing that he looked just like an older version of the blonde she just described to Sakura. Could it really be him, she thought. "How do you know my name?" she asked in a confused tone. "Don't you remember?" "It's me, Naruto," he replied. She stood there dazed for a few moments before jumping over the counter and tackling him in a fangirlish frenzy. "I can't believe you're back. Look at you. You're so tall." She said, giddy as a schoolgirl. "And not to mention hot." "Thanks, Am-chan," he said, rubbing the back of his head and grinning sheepishly. "Oh, you just have to tell me what happened while you were gone." She said, pulling him by the arm and forcing him to sit down while she took a seat next to him. Naruto went on about his and Jiraiya's 3-year trip and about their exploits throughout. They mostly involved Jiraiya getting stuck in a bad situation and Naruto having to bail him out of it. He then explained the training he went through, which virtually consisted of Naruto practicing taijutsu with a few ninjutsu thrown into the mix. He also learned a little bit as well from a sword specialist they met on their travels. "Hey Am. I'm back from my delivery." A gruff voice said as it approached them. "Hello, father. You'll never guess who this is." She said, Tsuchi-eyed him suspiciously before realizing who it was. "Hey, how has it been, Naruto?" "Hello, Sakura." He said. "Hey," they both replied. "Hey, old man, your ramen is still the best." Naruto said, taking in another mouthful. "I'm glad you still like it," he said. They talked for another 20 minutes before Sakura decided to go home, while Naruto decided to walk her back. "See ya, Am-chan, old man." Naruto said, walking off after Sakura. "Bye, Naruto," she said dreamily while waving goodbye and sighing. "Well, here we are," Naruto said, walking up to Sakura's front door and opening it to let her in. "Thank you, Naruto," she said, smiling as she entered. "Alright, I have to go meet Iro-sennin, so I'll see ya. Oh, and if you ever need anything, you know who to call," he said, smirking while turning around and walking away with his hands in his pockets. "Bye, Naruto," she said softly while closing her door. Once it was closed, she fell down and leaned against it. "You know you want him in her," Sakura said. "No, I don't. It's just the same old Naruto." She said, having an internal debate with her inner persona. "You know that's not true. He's changed, and for the better," inner Sakura said, smirking at that last comment. "Let's just drop it." "Alright," she said, standing up and brushing herself off. She noticed a tag with a summoning insignia on it attached to her upper left arm. Performing the necessary seals, she opened it up to reveal a sakura flower in full bloom with a note attached to it. It read, "To Sakura, may you bloom into the wonderful person that I know you are. Your friend, Naruto." She stared at it before smiling warmly. "Hello, honey. Where did you get that flower from?" her mother said as she walked into the room. Sakura simply stood there holding the flower close to her heart. "Naruto," she spoke quietly to herself with a smile on her face. "Sorry I'm late, Iro-sennin. I was having dinner with Sakura-chan, and I kind of lost track of time," Naruto said as he walked to the entrance of the Hokage Tower where Jiraiya was waiting for him. "It's about time you got here. I have more important things to attend to than wait around for you all day." Jiraiya spoke in an annoyed tone. "Yeah, like what?" "Peek at women in hot springs." Naruto replied sarcastically. "Look, that's not the point. Anyway, meet me at your regular training grounds at 8 tomorrow morning," he said seriously. "Alright, I'll be there. Good night, Iro-sennin." Naruto said, walking back toward his apartment. Jiraiya was about to tell him to stop calling him his well-deserved nickname, but he decided against it since it was late. Naruto quickly entered his house and performed the nightly rituals before finally laying on his bed and going to sleep. But unknown to him, strange things were going on inside him. Or more accurately, the cell which contained Kyuubi. I've been in this damn cell for too long. But, if this plan works, I'll finally be able to get out. Then I can see my wonderful Naruto-kun. A female voice said from inside the cage. You know this is probably not going to work. At the worst you'll kill us all. I want to get out of here as much as you do, but I don't want to die while doing it. Another deep voice also said from inside the cage. Oh, it will work alright. We will be free, and Naruto will still be able to use the Kyuubi's chakra. The female voice replied. Alright, if you say so. The deep voice said. So basically that's the plan. What do you think? The female voice from the night before asked. That's actually a good plan. And here I thought I was supposed to be the smart one. The other male voice replied sarcastically. Yeah, and once we're out of here I finally be able to see my precious Naruto-kun. The feminine voice said dreamily. Hey, he's waking up so we should be getting ready now. The male voice said fading out. Hi. I'm not missing this chance. She said fading out as well. Naruto Sakura quickly leapt from rooftop to rooftop, heading for a certain blonde ninja's house. Jiraiya came to her early in the morning to ask that she wake Naruto up, since he knew he would either forget or sleep in. She arrived at the address Jiraiya gave her only moments later and loudly knocked on the door. After she gave Jiraiya's message to him, she was hoping that he would invite her into his house. Naruto was awoken from his slumber by a loud rapping sound on his door. Of all the times for someone to come visit him, it had to be early in the morning. Go away, he yelled in an attempt to let the person know that he or she wasn't welcome. Of course it didn't work, since the knocking only got louder. Naruto, you come open this door right this instant. Sakura yelled furiously as she almost broke down the door with her insane strength. Alright already, I'm coming. He said, getting up out of his bed to go answer the door. Nobody ever wants to come visit me in the afternoon. It's always in the morning or right when I'm about to go to sleep at night. Naruto thought as he trudged to his front door. Undoing all of the locks on the door, he slowly opened the door. Hey, how are you doing, Sakura-chan, he said in a sleepy tone while leaning against his doorpost and rubbing his eye. To say Sakura was surprised at what she saw would be an understatement. In front of her was Naruto wearing nothing but a pair of boxers, his pectorals and abs in full view. Every muscle from his biceps to his abdominals was flawlessly shaped and tanned to perfection. Sakura-chan. Are you okay? Naruto asked, waving a hand in front of his face, oblivious to the fact that she was staring dumbfounded at his chest. What? Oh yeah, I'm fine. She replied, regaining her composure and wiping a bit of drool off the corner of her mouth. Alright, if you say so, Sakura-chan. He said, shrugging his shoulders. Oh, I almost forgot. Jiraiya-sensei said not to forget to meet him for training this morning. She said. Wait, what time is it now? Naruto asked. It's about 7:45. You better hurry if you want to make it on time. She said. Crap, I have to go to Sakura-chan. Naruto said, running back into his room and throwing on some training clothes. He quickly brushed his teeth and then left his house, running past Sakura in the process. He then quickly turned back around and came back to her. Thanks for reminding me. You're the best. He said absent-mindedly, giving her a quick peck on her cheek and quickly dashing at full speed to the training grounds. This caused almost all of the blood in her body to rush to her face. Shanro inner Sakura yelled as she held up her fingers in the victory sign. Woo, I made it just in time. Naruto said, breathing heavily as he walked to the middle of the training field. Good, you actually made it on time. I was beginning to wonder if you would start acting like Kakashi. Jiraiya said, walking up to him. If I was going to be late all the time like Kakashi-sensei, I would make up better excuses. Naruto said sarcastically. Somewhere out in Iwagakure, Hada Kakashi was perched on a tree branch overlooking a camp of about 15 to 20 Iwa ninja. He was about to strike when all of a sudden he sneezed, giving away his position. As soon as he did, all 20 ninjas surrounded him, the intent to kill radiating off of them. Because nothing could go right today. He said sarcastically as he sighed hopelessly. Anyway, we're not here to think of good excuses, we're here to train. Jiraiya said, getting into a serious mood, which was a new thing in his book. So what are we going to do? Chakra control exercises, weight training, meditation, practicing stealth by sneaking into a women's onsen. Naruto said jokingly as he stretched his arms and legs in order to get warmed up. That's a good idea for later, but no. We're going to do something different, Jiraiya said, getting an evil grin on his face. And that would be? Naruto said, confused. Hiro Sennin never did anything new, since he wasted all his time peeping on women or going to brothels. Simple, we're going to spar. By doing this, I can measure how much you've progressed in the 3 years we have been traveling together. He replied. Really? What are the rules? Naruto said suspiciously. You know. Taijutsu of all types are allowed, simple ninjutsu, no summoning, and simple if you know any. So, are you up for it? He responded. Of course I'm up for it. The question is, can you handle it? Naruto said, cracking his knuckles and popping out the kinks in his neck. Still as cocky as ever, brat. Don't blame me if you get hurt. He retorted into a battle position. I don't intend to. Naruto countered by getting into a similar battle stance. Both ninjas glared at each other from opposite sides of the training ground, neither one making any sound or movement. It was so silent you could hear a pin drop. A single leaf fell from a nearby tree and floated gently into the middle of the soon-to-be battlefield. The moment it landed, the two ninja dashed at each other at an unbelievable speed, each brandishing a kunai, and locked as the two kunai connected. They both jumped back, and Jiraiya threw the kunai at Naruto. The Kyuubi container countered by throwing his kunai at Jiraiya's, blocking it in the process. The two kunai connected and flipped up into the air. Both Jiraiya and Naruto caught one in midair and came at each other at full force, creating a small shockwave at the collision. Not bad, kid. But I think it's time we step it up, a notch. He said, leaping back a few meters in order to create some distance between him and Naruto. I intend to. He said, performing a few hand seals. Kaiten. Hausenka no, he yelled as a stream of fireballs spewed from his mouth. You've got to do better than that, kid. He said. With a wave of his hand, a huge gust of wind doused the fireballs. Always look underneath the underneath, Iro Senin. Naruto retorted as the wind blew out the fire to reveal shuriken coming towards him. Good, he's thinking ahead, Jiraiya thought as he dodged the shuriken by leaning back Matrix style. Reacting quickly, Naruto used the body flicker technique to capture Jiraiya in an arm lock. I've got you now, Iro Senin. Naruto said, tightening his grip on Jiraiya. Really? Now do you like Naruto? Jiraiya said, poofing out of existence. When the hell did he learn Kage Bushin no Jutsu? Naruto thought, stumbling backwards. Hey kid, above you, Jiraiya yelled as Naruto looked up in horror to see a giant toad with twin swords strapped to its back, about to squash him from above. Naruto ran faster than he had ever run before, just barely escaping being crushed from the enormous frog. When the smoke cleared, the only thing in the middle of the field was the massive amphibian and Jiraiya standing on its head. Not to mention Naruto and three of his clones surrounding Jiraiya, all holding a kunai up to his neck. Iro Senin, what the hell was that? You said no summoning, the real Naruto said, screaming agitatedly at him. Shinobi don't play by the rules, remember kid? Jiraiya replied, smirking. The giant frog that they were both standing on suddenly disappeared, leaving a giant boulder covered in explosive tags. The tags then exploded, Naruto and his clones just barely escaping the blast radius. A huge cloud of smoke then spewed out of the resulting crater. Ryu, that was close, Naruto said to one of his clones who then nodded back. Just then, Jiraiya burst through the pillar of smoke and began rushing at Naruto and his clones at an inhuman speed. He plowed straight into the first, destroying it in the process. Another clone attempted to wound him with a kunai, swinging his arm across horizontally. Jiraiya dodged by ducking and countered with an uppercut to the jaw, eliminating him as well. He then took out the last clone by hurling a few shuriken at it, which impaled the clone in the chest. Now for the real one, Jiraiya said, pivoting on his foot and rushing toward the real Naruto. He then began gathering chakra into the palm of his hand as he sprinted toward the Kyuubi container. Rasengan, Jiraiya yelled as he slammed the sphere of chakra into Naruto's abdomen. Gotcha, Iro Senin, Naruto said, smirking as he transformed into nothing more than a cloud of smoke. What the hell, Jiraiya thought as he searched his surroundings for any sign of the blonde-haired ninja. Just then, 4 Naruto clones leapt up from the ground below. Hi. Naruto was just about to finish his ever-famous combo with a downward kick to Jiraiya's head when he felt an overwhelming surge of pain overtake his body. He instantly fell to the ground and doubled over, grasping his abdomen and screaming at the top of his lungs. Kid, what's wrong? Jiraiya said, rushing up to him. When he got there, Naruto was already knocked out cold, growing paler by the second. His eyes began to change into a reddish hue, and his fingernails began to grow longer, while his whisker marks began to grow darker. Having no idea what was going on with him, Jiraiya decided to take him to Tsunade. He gently slung Naruto over his shoulder and sprinted as fast as he could toward the Konoha hospital. Yes, it worked. This is going much better than I had hoped, the female voice from before said cheerily. Don't get cocky. You know that old saying, something that can go wrong, well, the other voice said. Geez, don't get your tails in a bunch. Everything will work out fine. Alright, phase 1 is complete, now for phase 2. She said. A few minutes later, Jiraiya entered the Konoha hospital, an unconscious and slightly transformed Naruto slung over his shoulder. Upon entering the building, he found Shizune sitting on a couch in the lobby and drinking some tea. If anybody would know where Tsunade was, it would be her. Hello, Jiraiya-sama. What are you doing here? Shizune asked, taking another sip of her tea. Shizune, where is Tsunade? This is important. Jiraiya said seriously. And wait for Jiraiya-sama. I'm on my only break for the day. And what happened to Naruto? She yelled upon seeing the blonde in the transformed state. I have one idea, but other than that I have no clue. That's why I need to see Tsunade right away. He said, staring down at his partially transformed state. Alright, follow me, Jiraiya-sama, Shizune said as she ran down a hospital hall, Jiraiya following closely behind. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. We'll find Tsunade-sama. Shizune thought about running down the hall. Where am I? Naruto said as slowly stirred from his deep unconsciousness. He looked around only to find himself in a murky, dank room. The place seemed familiar to him, as if he had been here before. Wait a minute, this place seems familiar. A dark room, floor is completely wet, giant steel cage, no shred of hope. I'm definitely in the sea. Naruto said, rising up off of the ground, getting to his feet and brushing some dirt off of his clothes. Hello, is anybody there? Naruto yelled, but to no avail. Hey stupid fox, answer me when I call you. Hello, Kit the Great Fox Demon said. Stupid fox, why the hell did you knock me out? I was about to kick the crap out of Iro-sen, Naruto shouted angrily. It's not every day that you beat a legendary ninja. Because that was the only way to get you in here so I could talk to you. There is something you needed to know, it retorted calmly. Alright, I'm listening, Naruto said. That accursed seal the fourth Hokage put on you didn't exactly turn out like he would have hoped for. The requirement for this seal was the cost of his life, but a human for a demon doesn't exactly measure up on a scale. The power was too much for just him to seal away with his own chakra, which means the seal is incomplete. Because of not being complete, in the 15 years since you were born, the seal has been slowly crumbling away and now has a crack, though not visible from the outside. I see. Continue. Naruto said respectfully. If that crack keeps growing at the rate that it is, the seal will eventually implode in on itself and obliterate both you and me within a few months. And frankly, I don't want to die. It finished. Crap, not only did I not beat Iro-sen today, but now I'm going to die. Naruto said sarcastically. Is there anything we can do about it? Yes, there is one thing. I will transfer some of my chakra through the seal, fixing it in the process. The problem is once the chakra fixes the seal, it will have nowhere else to go. Kyuubi said. I have an idea. How much chakra will it take to fix it? Naruto asked, an idea forming in his head. It will take about 2 of my tail's worth of chakra. Why do you ask? Kyuubi replied. Perfect, just follow my lead. I want to do this as soon as possible, so I better get going. Just make sure you're ready, Naruto said, beginning to exit out of his mind. Alright, just remember. If you destroy both of us, I'll kill you. Kyuubi said before Naruto left. Jiraiya, he's stirring. Tsunade said as she walked up to a now awakening Naruto, who was resting in a hospital bed. Hey, are you okay, kid? Jiraiya asked him. Yeah, I'm fine, Iro-sen. Naruto answered while rubbing the back of his head. While you were asleep, I checked you over to see if anything was wrong when I saw that the seal was glowing red. Do you know anything about Naruto? Tsunade asked him grim-faced. Yes, I do, Naruto responded as he began to tell them about what had happened inside of the seal. So what are you going to do about it? Jiraiya asked as he leaned against one of the walls in the room. I have a plan already that me and Kyuubi talked about. But we will need a big space to do it in order for the least amount of destruction. Naruto said. Alright, follow me, Tsunade said as she led them out of the hospital. About 10 minutes later, Naruto, Tsunade, Jiraiya and Shizune all reached Team 7's training ground, which had previously been the battleground of Naruto and Jiraiya. Tsunade looked around to find a great number of holes and debris strewed out over the field. What did you two do here? Start a hurricane? Tsunade asked. Sort of. But anyway, let's do this. Naruto said, sitting down into a cross-legged position and beginning to once again enter the seal. Alright Fox, we're ready when you are. Naruto said cockily to the giant demon. Once I've put in enough chakra through the crack, get that stupid perverted ninja to seal up the seal, so I don't overload it. Kyuubi said, starting to gather chakra around his body. Okay, let's go, Naruto said as he braced himself. A huge amount of red chakra began to swirl around Naruto as he screamed at the top of his lungs. The ground around him began to rip apart as the chakra seemed to gather up above him, forming itself into the head of a giant fox. Naruto Shizune screamed as she rushed forward to try and help him. Shizune, stop, Jiraiya said, cutting her off before she could run any closer. If you get too close to him, you'll die instantly. Okay kid. Whatever you were going to do, you better do it now. Kyuubi said as the chakra began to intensify, creating almost a tornado of red chakra around him. Alright, here goes nothing. Naruto yelled, performing a hand seal. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, he shouted as 2 clones then appeared in front of him. Kyuubi, send the chakra into those 2 clones. Naruto screamed inside his mind. Kyuubi did as he was told, as a stream of red chakra flew into the 2 clones from Naruto's stomach. After Kyuubi decided he had put enough through, he immediately told Naruto to stop. Iro-sen, do it now, Naruto said as he began to fall down. Jiraiya immediately rushed towards him. Gajumfkin, he yelled as he slammed his open palm into the seal on Naruto's stomach, cutting off the supply of demonic chakra. The chakra then surrounded the 2 clones before finally making a huge explosion, sending both Jiraiya and Naruto flying back before hitting the ground. When they looked up, there was a huge crater where the 2 clones stood and smoke radiating off of it to where they couldn't see past it. When the smoke cleared, two figures were standing in the middle of the crater, one with long, brilliant red hair and deep, vibrant blue eyes like Naruto's. The other couldn't be seen clearly by either two of them, but it decided to speak up anyway. Hello. Hirosenin, dude, now Naruto said as he began to fall down. Jiraiya immediately rushed towards him. Gajimfkin, he yelled as he slammed his open palm into the seal on Naruto's stomach, cutting off the supply of demonic chakra. The chakra then surrounded the two clones before finally making a huge explosion, sending both Jiraiya and Naruto flying back about 10 feet before hitting the ground. When they looked up, there was a huge crater where the two clones stood and smoke radiating off of it to where they couldn't see past it. When the smoke began to clear a little bit, they both could barely see two figures standing in the middle of the crater, one with long, brilliant red hair and deep, vibrant blue eyes like Naruto's. The other couldn't be seen as clearly as the first one by either Naruto or Jiraiya, but it decided to speak up anyway. Hello, it said in a deep and sinister tone as it made its way past the smoke toward Naruto, before finally stopping in front of his face. It was actually a red fox with 9 bushy tails flowing behind it and bright yellow eyes, Think Kurara from Inuyasha, except with 9 tails instead of 2 and red fur with fox ears. Naruto stared at it, his mouth hanging agape. What the hell are you staring at? It asked, cocking its head to the side. Ah, it's a talking Miko, Naruto screamed, pointing at it. I am not a cat, you dumb, the fox yelled back irately. Now. Don't be so mean, the other one said, strolling up to the two of them. Naruto looked up to see a beautiful young girl with fiery red hair and gentle, brilliant blue eyes. She was the picture of perfection, having absolutely no blemishes or marks on her pale skin, and she was quite well endowed, he noticed. Hello, Naruto-kun, she said, holding out a hand to help him up. Oh, thanks. Naruto was about to continue when he noticed one small little detail about her that he hadn't realized before. She was completely undressed. His entire face turned completely blood red before he passed out from lack of blood due to a massive nosebleed. It took her a minute to realize exactly why he passed out, and she immediately began trying to cover herself. Tsunade, taking pity on her, took off her green robe and put it around her. Thank you, she said sincerely as she tied it around her. Jiraiya then began to walk up to the fox, thinking it was the only one here qualified enough to answer his questions. Alright, I've got a few questions to ask you, he said, sitting down on a rock next to it. I can probably answer all your questions if I just tell you what happened. But you might want to wake up that baka over there, it said, pointing one of its tails toward the unconscious blonde. Jiraiya then walked over to him. Hey, brat, wake up, Jiraiya said, standing over him. Naruto didn't seem to be moving. Getting annoyed, Jiraiya picked up a nearby rock and performed a henge on it in order to make it look like ramen. It was only a matter of time after he placed it next to Naruto's head until he would wake up. Oh boy, ramen, Naruto said, jumping up and grabbing the bowl of ramen. He tried to slurp the whole thing down, only to find that it wasn't real. He then hung his head low in defeat. Okay, now what happened, Jiraiya asked, turning back to the fox and motioning for everyone to gather around. I'm sure Naruto already explained what happened so far with the seal and all, the fox said, getting a nod from everybody. Naruto actually had a really great idea. Sending the Kyuubi's chakra into 2 cage Bushins was a great concept, but Naruto didn't calculate that it was the Kyuubi's chakra, he said, stressing the word Kyuubi. Demon chakra acts differently than normal chakra and has different side effects than human chakra. Like at the Valley of the End, Naruto usually has to form a clone before he can perform Rasengan, but he was able to make it without it, as well as make it more powerful. I don't think he has ever noticed this, but when he makes a clone using the demon chakra, it actually lasts longer, but it's usually not visible because of the whole splitting your chakra in half concept, which doesn't leave enough chakra to each clone to be noticeable. There was so much chakra sent into those 2 clones that they actually began to form real, living flesh. As she was forming, she performed a henge, or as Naruto calls it, giving her the form of a beautiful 15-year-old girl. I, on the other hand, wanted to come out as a fox. Granted, I wanted to be bigger than this, but beggars can't be choosers, or so they say. He finished. Alright, I think I understand now. But I still have one more question, Naruto said. And that would be, the fox replied back. Where did you guys come from? Kyuubi's the only one in the seal, he asked. The great Kyuubi not only has 9 tails, but 9 different personalities as well, 1 for each tail. When he transferred the chakra over, he sent 2 tails of it, in effect sending 2 personalities over. I am the smart, calculating personality, and she is the personality that I am totally and completely in love with. The girl then sent him a death glare, killer intent radiating off of her. Sensing his own demise, he quickly changed what he was going to say. Dango, he said, just barely saving himself. She quickly gave him a wink. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune all noticed this and realized what he was going to say. All 3 of them shot a glance over to the blonde. Why is everybody staring at me, he asked. Everybody fell down in I'm style at how dense he could be, while she just silently thanked Kami. He was an idiot when it came to women. Never mind, it's nothing. Jiraiya spoke as he and the others stood up. Well, that basically covers everything. But the question is, what are we going to do now? The fox said, walking up towards the girl. We don't have anywhere to go. I guess you could live in a spare apartment, Tsunade said. They can't. All of the spare apartments at this time are occupied. Shizune said. How do you know that? Tsunade asked her while raising an eyebrow. Well, the next Chunin exams are beginning in about 2 weeks, and shinobi from other villages are bound to be taking up space. I also found a document with that information right next to an ocean of drool when I came to wake you up from your afternoon nap. Shizune replied innocently. Tsunade just gave her the "you didn't need to add that" look. That reminds me. I still need to find another teammate for the exams. Naruto said, remembering that little detail. Upon hearing this information, the red-headed girl perked her ears up. She then began to formulate an idea. If she was on a team with Naruto, it would make it that much easier to win him over, and since she basically had the chakra of one of the tails of the great Kyuubi, nothing could possibly go wrong. If you can't find anybody else to do it, I guess I can. She said, making her presence known again. Really? That would be great. Naruto exclaimed as he enveloped her in a giant hug. It did hurt a little bit, but she was willing to let that slide thanks to the close contact between her and the blonde ninja. But still, where are they going to live now? Shizune asked. They could just live with me, Naruto said happily as he released his embrace. Really? She asked as she began to picture her and Naruto in an apartment alone, with nobody else around. She then mentally scolded herself for thinking such things. Yeah, why not? I have enough space and it does get pretty lonely when I'm all there by myself. Naruto said. Wait a minute. I'm not living with this dumb. The fox yelled in a fit of irritation. Oh yes, you will. The red-haired girl ordered as she began radiating killer intent towards him, glaring at him with her most menacing stare. Yes ma'am. He said, hiding behind Naruto's leg and cowering in fear for his life. Well, that solves that problem. I'll go and file some documents for you and come up with some backstory. In 2 days, Kakashi will rate your performance to see if you are qualified for a career as a shinobi. Anyway, that about covers it. Let's go, Shizune. Tsunade said. Hi, Tsunade-sama. Shizune said as she began to trail behind her. Oh, Aba-chan. Do you know what time it is? Naruto asked, yelling back at her. Tsunade stared at the position of the sun for a moment before turning back to him. I'd say it's about 7:45 p.m. You were knocked out for a long time back there. She said all-knowingly. How did you figure that out? Naruto asked in amazement that someone could tell the exact time of day just by looking at the sun. Oh, I have a watch. She said, holding up her wrist for everyone to see. At this, everybody, once again, fell down in I'm style. Anyway, I best be off. Goodbye, Naruto. Tsunade said as she and Shizune took off in the direction of the Hokage Tower. I guess I should be going as well. I need to get back to my research. See ya, kid. Jiraiya said as he walked away. Wow, that sensei of yours is really dedicated to his work, Naruto-kun. The red-haired girl said in amazement. Trust me. If you knew what his work was, you'd be as ashamed as I am. Naruto said quietly in embarrassment at the habits of his sensei. Anyway, we should be getting on our way. Naruto said, instantly perking up. He motioned for her and the fox to come along, which they did. The fox jumped up onto the girl's shoulder, saying something about being too tired to walk. Naruto began to dash at a regular shinobi speed when he noticed that they weren't behind him. He quickly turned around and headed back towards them. Is something wrong? He asked her. I guess I'm just not used to being in a real body yet. She said, trying to run, but stumbling a bit. Then we'll just walk home then. Come on, he said, grabbing her hand and walking with her toward the direction of his apartment, which made a bright red blush appear on her face. As they left, 2 figures hopped from the nearby trees and onto the ground, dressed in full Anbu attire, and in place of the Anbu tattoo, was a number. Did you get all of that? The first one said in a husky voice. Yeah, I got it all. Let's report back to him. The second one answered, adding emphasis on the last word. Right with it, the 2 were gone just as quickly as they came. So what was it like living in that seal? Naruto asked, trying to make small talk as they rounded a street corner. It was horrible. It's always dark and dreary. The only thing that kept me from going insane in that hell was the little fox on my shoulder. She said, reaching over and scratching behind his ears. So, can you explain to me how that works again? I mean, I thought that the Kyuubi was just one demon. Naruto asked. Well, as you've been told already, the Kyuubi is made up of 9 personalities, 1 for each tail. They can all interact with each other, but I usually just decided to talk with only him. She responded. Why would you want to talk to him? He seems like a jerk to me. Naruto said, whispering in her ear. I heard that, you dumb. The fox said, glaring daggers through Naruto. Who are you calling a dumb, Baka Nico? Naruto yelled back at him. I am not a cat, he was cut off by the girl putting her hand over his jaws. Sure, he is a little bit insensitive sometimes, but on the inside he is a good person, well, a good fox kid. She said, quickly fixing her mistake. Okay, if you say so. Naruto said, putting his hands in his pockets. Well. What do we have here? A strange man said as he walked up to Naruto and the girl, followed by two other guys. What's a pretty thing like you doing in a place like this? He asked as he inched closer to her, completely ignoring Naruto. She backed away slowly, attempting to put some space in between her and him. He kept inching forward with her edging back until she hit a wall and fell down. Where are you going? He asked, reaching out, attempting to violate her. Out of nowhere, Naruto caught his hand before he had any chance to make contact and broke his wrist, the cracking sound resonating throughout the area. Who the hell do you think you are? The man said as he shook off the pain and charged Naruto, who sidestepped and kneed him in the stomach, looking downwards the whole time. He knocked the guy back about 20 feet into the side of a building, leaving a gaping hole. Lifting up his eyes, he stared at the remaining two with bright redder eyes. If either one of you tried that, I'll kill you. He said in a menacing growl. The other two guys, getting the hint, ran off as fast as they could in sheer terror as he turned around to the girl. Naruto-kun is so hot, she thought as she watched him. You okay? Naruto said, offering a hand to her, which she gladly accepted. Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, and thanks, she said, blushing and averting his gaze. Are you sure you're okay? You look like you have a fever, Naruto said, putting a hand to her forehead, mistaking her blush as a sign of a fever. At that instant, she blushed even brighter. You definitely have a fever. Come on, hop on my back and I'll carry you. It will be quicker this way. He said, bending down to allow her access to get on, to which she gladly accepted. Once she was secure, he took off. Naruto-kun is always so caring and gentle. Maybe that's why I like him so much. She thought as she nuzzled her head into the crook of his neck. Her action made him blush a shade of red as well, but he decided to just let her be. Alright, we're home, Naruto said as they all walked through the front door of his apartment. This place is a piece of crap. The fox said as it hopped off of the girl's shoulder and looked at its surroundings. Really, if you think that's true, then you can sleep outside, Naruto said sarcastically. I think this place is great, the fox said, quickly changing his mind and jumping onto his sofa. Yeah, that's what I thought, Naruto said, closing his front door. He walked over to his cupboard, only to find nothing but cups of instant ramen there. Well, looks like we're having ramen tonight, he said, taking some cups out of the cabinet and inserting them into his microwave. After they were done cooking, they all sat down at his table and began to eat, except for the fox. What the hell is this? It said, staring at the food set before it. It's called ramen. Try it, you like it. Naruto said, taking in another mouthful of noodles. First of all, I am not eating this garbage. Second, I couldn't even eat it if I wanted to. I have no opposable thumbs. He said angrily. Thinking up a great solution, Naruto wrapped his fingers around the fox's head and slammed his head into the bowl, holding it to prevent its escape. After struggling for a while, it just decided to give up on getting away and swallowed a mouthful of noodles. When Naruto felt him eating it, he released his grip. So, how was it? The girl asked, perking up an eyebrow. Make me more noodles or I'll claw your eyes out. It said, jumping head first into the bowl and viciously devouring everything inside of it. The rest of the dinner was mostly spent in silence, other than the sounds of the fox eating. I'm going to go take a shower now. I've always wanted to try one of those, the girl said as she threw away her trash and headed towards Naruto's bathroom. Within seconds, the sound of water pouring out of the shower head could be heard. So what do we do now? Naruto asked the fox as he threw away his garbage. I don't know about you, but I'm going to sleep. Having to deal with a dumb like you drains me quite a lot. The fox said as it jumped to Naruto's couch and curled up into a ball. Whatever. Anyway, good night, Bakaniko. Naruto said as he walked into his room. I told you I'm not a. He was suddenly cut off by Naruto slamming his door. Naruto walked over to his bed and lay down on top of it. He had only been in Konoha for 2 days, and he had somehow become roommates with a beautiful girl and a fox with a god complex. He sighed wearily as he thought just how this had happened. But before he could really get into it, who else but said girl walked into the room with nothing but a towel on, no less. Hello, Naruto-kun. She said as she strolled into the room as if nothing was wrong. For the second time that day, Naruto passed out from a massive nosebleed. It took her almost 10 minutes to wake him up, but eventually he stirred. Thanks, he said as he took her hand. Naruto-kun, she asked, looking a little bit uneasy. Yes, he asked. Well, you do realize that there are 2 of us, and only 1 bed, she asked as a blush crept up to her face. I knew I was forgetting something. Well, you should take the bed and I will sleep on the floor. It's only right that a lady should be more comfortable than a man. He said as he began to move to the floor. That's very nice of you, Naruto-kun. But I have a better solution. She said, turning redder by the second. And what would that be? He asked. Well, we could just sleep in the same bed. That is, if you want to. She said as her whole face turned a dark crimson. Upon hearing this, Naruto also turned red as well. I guess we could do that. But you might want to put on some clothes instead of just that towel. He said, rubbing the back of his head. But I don't have any clothes. She said. Well, I have some that you could wear, but they might be a little loose on you. He said as he walked over to his drawer and pulled out a t-shirt and a pair of boxers. After receiving them, she walked back into the bathroom and put them on. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She said as she walked back into the room. She pulled back the covers and climbed into the bed. Aren't you getting in, Naruto-kun? She asked when she noticed that he was still standing in the same place. Oh yeah, hold on. He said as he began to take off his shirt. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? She asked. I always sleep with my shirt off. Is that a problem? He asked her in return. Oh no, not at all. That's actually a bonus. She said as she stared at his chest, drool coming out of the corner of her mouth. Once he was done, he climbed into the bed beside her. I can't believe I forgot. I never got your name. He said apologetically. Well, actually, I don't have one. She said. Then we'll just have to think of one for you. Let's see, he said as he began to stare at her red hair. I've got it. You've got pretty, red hair and all, so how about a cane? He asked her, hopeful that she would like it. That's a wonderful name, Naruto-kun. She said dreamily as she stared into his eyes. Alright then. Good night, Akane-chan. He said as he closed his eyes. Good night, Naruto-kun. She said as she inched closer to him, wrapped her slender arms around his waist, and went to sleep. Naruto quickly opened his eyes when he felt her snuggling up to him. He was going to say something, but decided against it. It was late and he would hate to wake her up for something so small. Besides, even though he wouldn't actually admit it to someone, it was comforting being so close to her. He decided to forget his thoughts and quickly went back into a blissful slumber. It was around 7 in the morning in the village of Konohagakure. The early morning fog still permeated the air. The faint sounds of people just beginning to wake up and run their daily errands could be heard. It was still quiet in the Uzumaki residence, not one of them having woken up yet. The fox was sprawled out on Naruto's couch, still sound asleep. The other two were still in the bed, Naruto's limbs spread out over the futon, with a cane wrapping her arms around his torso and her leg positioned in between his legs. The early morning light shone through the only window and spread throughout the room, giving it an ethereal glow. The cane slowly opened her vivid blue eyes after having a wonderful sleep the night before. She stared at the slumbering blonde's face. The thought of just being in the same bed as him was just too great to pass up, so she decided to lie in bed instead of getting out. She tightened her grip on him and laid her head on his chest. She could feel his shallow breathing and the pounding rhythm of his heart. When he stifled out a silent snore, she just couldn't help but giggle like a love-struck schoolgirl. She had to admit, she was totally infatuated with him. They lay like for what seemed forever before she began to formulate an idea. She slowly climbed on top of him and brought her head up to his, her hair hanging down and slightly covering his face. She then lowered her head, attempting to plant a kiss on his cheek, but before she could succeed, she was startled by Naruto awakening. She quickly jumped off of him before he noticed she was there and fell on the floor with a thump. Naruto slowly sat up, rubbing his eyes, and checked his surroundings until his eyes rested upon the crimson-haired beauty. Good morning, Akane-chan. He said as he stifled out a yawn. Oh, what are you doing on the floor? He asked, looking at her quizzically. Oh, good morning, Naruto-kun. I guess I just fell off of the bed while we were sleeping. She lied, rubbing the back of her head as she laughed awkwardly. Oh, okay. As long as you're alright. He said as he climbed out of the covers and sat down at the edge of the bed. Oh, trust me. I'm completely fine. She replied, taking a seat next to him. They sat in silence for a few moments before Naruto spoke. So what are we going to do today? Naruto asked her. Well, I do need some new clothes, on account of not having any. So how about we go shopping today? She said cheerfully, hoping that he would say yes. Sure, why not? What could possibly go wrong? He said, smiling back at her. Oh, how he would regret those exact words later. Really? Oh, thank you, Naruto-kun. Wait, what am I going to wear? Ah, this is terrible. She said, going into a comedic depression, while Naruto just sweat dropped. Just then, Naruto heard a knock on his door. Putting on a spare t-shirt, he got off of his bed and walked heavily towards the door. Why do they always come in the morning? He thought as he undid the lock and pushed the door open. Hey, Abe-chan. Naruto said sleepily. Hello, Naruto. Say, is that girl from yesterday's home? She said, stepping in and looking around until her eyes rested on Akane. There you are. I kind of realized last night that you wouldn't have any clothes, so I stopped by this store and got you something. Tsunade said, handing her a package. Thank you, Tsunade-sama. I'll go put it on right now. She said, running into the bathroom and locking the bathroom door. Hey, what's with him? Tsunade asked, pointing at the slumbering fox on the sofa. He's probably just asleep. Naruto said, walking over to him. Hey Bakaniko, wake up. At that, the fox jumped up, growling in anger, and slashed Naruto's face with his claws. What the hell did you do that for? Naruto asked, screaming at it. I told you not to call me that. He said calmly. Then what do you want me to call you? Naruto said, still angry. Something with flair, something that humans will respect, and something that will strike fear into the hearts of even the most battle-hardened warriors and cause children to scream in terror at the mere mention of my name. He said poetically. Or I could just call you Caillou. Naruto said, taking on a bored tone at having to listen to that stupid monologue. Yeah, I like that name too. It suits you, Tsunade added playfully. And people wonder why the Kyuubi hated humans, Caillou thought as he mentally sighed. Fine, whatever, just make me some more, Raymond. It said as it sauntered to the table and sat in its usual chair. Okay, I'm ready. Akane yelled from the bathroom as she prepared to step out. Everyone stared at the direction of the bathroom, waiting for her to come out. She came out with a twirl, leaned against the door, and posed. Alright, how do I look? She asked. She was greeted by the sound of Naruto's jaw dropping to the ground and Caillou staring wide-eyed at her, his left eyebrow twitching. Do I really look that good? She asked innocently, twirling around and letting them get a good look at her backside, which caused Naruto and Caillou to spurt blood from their noses. Geez, Naruto. Who knew you were such a pervert? Tsunade said jokingly. I'm not a pervert, damn it. I'll be dead before I turn into Iro-Senin. He yelled, regaining his composure, while still sporting a blush of embarrassment. Yeah, that's what Jiraiya said when he was your age. Anyway, I better be going. I have to get back to my paperwork. She said, opening the door. What's the point? You're just going to go back to sleep anyway. Naruto said, mumbling under his breath. Shut up, stupid brat. Tsunade yelled, punching him in the jaw and sending him flying into the next room. Alright, bye Akane, bye Caillou. Oh, and tell Naruto I said bye, if he wakes up that is. She said, hinting at something as she walked out of the door while Akane and Caillou just sweat dropped. Wait, your name is Caillou? She asked, looking at him disbelievingly. Yes is all he said. After a few moments, she burst out laughing and fell to the ground, rolling around on the floor. I didn't choose it, blame the idiot back there. He said, pointing to the hole Naruto made with one of his tails, which only caused her to laugh even louder. Eventually she regained her composure. Sorry, it's just so funny for someone like you to have such a cute name. She said, pinching his cheeks. Whatever, let's just go wake them up. He said, walking into the room where Naruto was currently incapacitated. Hey, dumb. Wake up. He said, flinging one of his tails in front of Naruto's face. When this got no reaction, he resorted to biting Naruto's ear, which earned a yelp of pain from the unconscious blonde. What the hell did you do that for? Naruto shouted, apparently recovering from his nap. Instead of answering, Caillou just walked away without making a sound. That Baka Nico needs an attitude adjustment. Naruto said, mumbling under his breath. Naruto-kun. Shouldn't we be going now? Akane asked. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Hey Caillou. Do you want to come? Naruto asked, loud enough for the fox to hear. Will I be around you all day? He asked. Probably, Naruto retorted. Then, no. Caillou said, crawling up onto the sofa and attempting to go back to sleep. Don't mind him, Naruto-kun, he's just cranky. Come on, let's get going. She said, taking Naruto by the hand and opening the door. Hey, Baka Nico. Don't touch my stuff and don't eat any ramen until we get back. Naruto managed to get off before being dragged by Akane. Yeah, I know. Just go already. He said, curling up into a ball. Alright then, bye Caillou. Come on, Naruto-kun. She said, closing the door behind them. Caillou waited a few moments in silence before he realized something very important that he had forgotten. That didn't make me breakfast. Elsewhere, hey Niji. What do you think of this one? A girl with buns asked her wide-eyed companion. Tenten, I think it's a great addition to your wardrobe. Perhaps you would like to try this one. A guy in a green spandex uniform and a bowl-shaped haircut asked her while he held up another green spandex uniform. No thanks, Lee. That's alright. She said, sweat dropping. But, why not? Lee asked, feigning fake tears. Because Tenten was cut off by Niji answering for her. Because if she wore that uniform, then she would just be a copy of you, Lee. One is better being original and coming up with their own ideas. Niji explained, crossing his arms. Niji, as always, you are right in your youthful explanations. It would be most youthful for Tenten to copy me when she already has her own youthful style. Lee went on about some speech on the virtues of the springtime of youth, but Tenten and Niji just tuned him out. Thanks, Niji. She said quietly so as not to be heard by Lee. Anytime, Niji replied. With Naruto and Akane. Come on, Naruto-kun. I want to get in as much as possible today. Akane said, running ahead of him. Naruto just chuckled. While she might be a demon, she still acted like a little child sometimes. Shaking off his thoughts, he walked at a faster pace in order to catch up with her. They walked for a few minutes before they came upon what seemed like the shopping center of Konoha. Everywhere you turned you could see a store or somebody buying something from some sort of vendor. Naruto and Akane walked side by side, her gazing at everything in sight with wide eyes, and him putting his hands in his pockets and walking with his eyes closed. What's that? Akane asked, pointing at a shimmering object that she spotted out of the corner of her eye. Without waiting for him to answer, she started to dart towards the booth. "Did you say something?" Naruto then realized that he was alone and after a brief pause, quickly went to go look for her, hoping that she wouldn't cause too much trouble. "We haven't even been out here for 10 minutes, and I'm already starting to regret the what could possibly go wrong statement," Naruto said as he sprinted along the street in hopes of finding her. "With a cane." "Excuse me, sir, what is this?" Akane asked, holding up a golden necklace with a glistening blue sapphire in the middle. "It's just some crappy, it's a beautiful necklace dating back hundreds of years ago. It is said that this very necklace belonged to the Shodaime, the first Hokage of Konohagakure. The vendor said, obviously lying in order to make a profit off of the seemingly clueless Akane. "Really?" she squealed in excitement. "How much does it cost?" she asked, hoping for a reasonable price. "Well, normally it would be priceless, but for one such as yourself, I guess I could lower the price down to about 100,000 yen." Dottie said, grinning at how easy it was to persuade her into buying a fake necklace. "That sounds reasonable, comparing the fact that it's such a valuable necklace." "Hey, Naruto. Where did he go?" she asked, looking around for him. "Somewhere in Konoha." Neji, Lee, and Tenten walked along one of the crowded streets, Lee babbling on about how he would do an insane amount of exercises which Tenten and Neji just tuned it out. "Neji, how about we have a race?" an energetic Lee yelled as he hopped around like a young schoolboy. "No thanks, Lee," Neji said, returning to his normally apathetic position. "Why not, Neji? If you win, I will do 500 laps around Konoha, and if I cannot do that, I will do 1000. Lee stopped with his banter when he set his eyes on the most beautiful girl he had ever seen, holding up a golden necklace with a sapphire jewel in the middle. She had long crimson hair that went down to the bottom of her waist and the most perfect blue eyes he had ever witnessed. "Yosh, Guy-sensei. I have finally found the girl of my dreams. With the springtime of youth backing me up, she will no doubtedly fall for my youthfulness." Lee thought as flames of youth burned around him. He ran up to her and took her hand in his, making her drop the necklace in the process. "Hello, my name is Rock Lee. How would you like to be my girlfriend?" he asked, striking his nice guy pose. "Oh, no thank you. I'm kind of interested in someone else right now." She replied, blushing as her thoughts wandered off to a certain blonde shinobi. "Guy-sensei, I have failed you." Lee thought as he crouched down and hung his head low in a comical way. Neji and Tenten, having seen the whole thing, just sweat dropped. "Hey Akane, there you are." Naruto said, running up to her. He stopped and bent over slightly in an effort to catch his breath before standing straight once more. "I've been looking for you everywhere." "Hello, Naruto-kun. I was wondering where you went off to." She said, feigning innocence. "Like hell, you're the one that ran off." He replied in an agitated tone. It was then that he noticed Lee hunched over. "Who's that?" Naruto asked, pointing to the spandex-wearing shinobi. "I have no idea." She answered. Instantly, Lee regained his cheerful personality and jumped up. "My name is Rock Lee, the handsome green beast of Konoha." "Why does that name seem so familiar?" Naruto thought about putting his hand to his chin. "And what would your name be?" Lee asked. "Oh, my name is Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto said, snapping out of his thoughts, performing his own nice guy pose. It took a few seconds for it to click before Lee finally realized who it was. "Gosh, I cannot believe my ears. Naruto-kun has finally returned," Lee said as he grabbed onto Naruto and put him in a bone-crushing hug. "Ah, Lee. Get off of me." Naruto yelled as he started to hear his ribcage snap. "Sorry, Naruto. It has been so long since I have last seen your bright, youthful face. I am interested to see how much you have grown." "How about we have a sparring match?" he said, taking a battle stance. "Lee, are you crazy? We can't fight out in the middle of." Naruto was cut off by Lee charging him at full speed, ready to deliver a punch to his jaw. Reacting quickly, Naruto dodged the punch at the last second by tilting his head to the left. He attempted to retaliate with a kick of his own, but Lee was able to dodge it by jumping over him and landing behind him. "I see you have gotten better with your taijutsu, Naruto. But you will not be able to block my next attack." Lee said. He then began charging at blinding speed until he was stopped by Tenten. "Cut it out," Lee. Tenten said as she did a humorous dynamic entry by kicking him in the back and sending him flying through the air. She then turned to the mysterious stranger that Lee had attacked. "Sorry about him. He gets a little excited sometimes," and she stopped once she glimpsed his face. He had golden blonde hair and the most vivid sapphire eyes. He also had 6 little whisker marks on his cheeks that she thought were absolutely adorable. Not to mention that he was also in perfect shape. The way his muscles bulged out from under his t-shirt was enough for her to want to take him right then and there. In a weird sort of way, he sort of reminded her of someone she once knew, someone named Naruto, but she decided to shake that feeling off and focus on garnering this new guy's attention. "Hi, what's your name? Are you new here?" she said, using all of her willpower to not jump on top of him. Tenten Lee yelled, springing back into action. "Not now, Lee," she said, doing her best to ignore him. Tenten, that is no stranger. That is Naruto-kun." Lee said, pointing at him. Tenten just stared dumbfounded at him before what Lee said finally clicked. "What? That's Naruto, she yelled. Yep, it's me alright. Naruto said sarcastically. Hello, Naruto-sama. Niji said emotionlessly as he bowed. It seems you haven't changed, Niji, Naruto said, humoring Niji by bowing. Naruto-kun, who are these people? Akane asked. Oh, sorry. Akane, meet Tenten, Niji, and Lee. Formerly Genin Squad 9. Tenten, Niji, Lee, meet, Akane. He said, introducing everybody. Yosh, such a beautiful name for a pretty, youthful lady as yourself. Lee yelled as he took her hand and started wildly swinging her around. Lee, stop harassing people, Tenten screamed as she started to chase Lee around while everyone just sweat dropped. Ignoring them like he always does, Niji then turned his attention to the scarlet-haired beauty. So, where exactly are you from? I have never seen you around the village before. Niji asked. Damn it, Abe-chan forgot to give her a background. She's from the village hidden among the foxes. It was attacked by some other villages, and she was the sole survivor of the struggle. He said, making up the whole story. Niji could tell that Naruto was lying, but decided to ignore it. It was her business, and who was he to judge? He was a little bit curious, so he decided to activate his Byakugan. What he saw was completely different from what he expected. Inside her chakra coils was an evil crimson chakra laced with killer intent. This chakra is the same chakra I saw when I faced Naruto in the Chunin exams. Just who is this girl? Niji thought as he stared at the chakra. The chakra began to take the form of a fox head and growled wildly. As soon as it did that, Niji's Byakugan suddenly ceased. What happened? That thing just shut me out. She's definitely not normal. I'll have to keep an eye on her. Niji thought of taking his gaze off of her. So, are you two doing something important right now? Niji asked, putting off the many other questions he wanted to ask. Oh, we were just going to buy Akane-chan some new clothes. Naruto replied. So then are you on a date? Niji asked, almost as if he was trying to mess with Naruto. Tenten's ears perked up when Niji said this, and she stopped jazzing Lee. No, they can't be on a date. That would ruin my chances with Naruto-kun. She cried in her mind. No, yes, Naruto and Akane said at the same time and in subsequent order. Wait, what did you say? Naruto asked Akane. No, she said, changing her answer to the first question. Tenten felt like a huge weight had been lifted off of her shoulders. Hey Naruto-kun, do you think I could go with you? Tenten said, instantly latching onto his arm. Please say no, please say no, please say no, Akane thought as she crossed her fingers. Sure, why not? The more the merrier. Naruto said, giving her his infamous foxy grin that just made her heart melt. Of all the times for you to be a nice guy, Naruto-kun, it just had to be now. She thought, feeling defeated at her hope of spending the day with just the two of them. Hey Niji, do you and Lee want to come along as well? He asked them. Akane had never felt more disappointed. Her perfect day with Naruto was about to be ruined. It was just supposed to be the two of them. Niji, seeing her facial expression, picked up on this. We would love to go with you and indulge in the youthful activities of shopping, and Lee stopped his ranting when Niji grabbed his shoulder. Niji then made a nodding gesture toward Akane. After a few moments, Lee finally got what Niji was getting at. I mean, Niji and I must not let our spirits of youth die down by shopping. We must keep training in order to improve ourselves. Lee said, performing his ever-famous nice guy pose. Alright, if you say so, Naruto said, shrugging his shoulders. You better get going if you want to beat the rush to the stores, Naruto-sama. Niji said, walking up to him. He's right, we better go now. See ya, Niji, Lee. Naruto said. Bye Niji-kun. Bye Lee. Tenten said, walking off after him. Once they were both out of sight, Niji walked past Akane. Go get him, Akane-sama, Niji said, walking past her with a clever smirk on his face. It was right then that she understood what he was doing when he stopped him and Lee from going with Naruto. Right, thank you, Niji-kun. She said, smiling and giving a small bow before she ran off to catch up with Naruto and Tenten. That was really nice of you, Niji. But how did you know she liked Naruto? Lee asked, strolling over to him. These eyes can see more than just Lee. Niji said with a devious smirk. You know, Niji. Maybe you're not as cold and uncaring as people think you are. Lee said, giving him a genuine smile. Why, Lee? That was a very youthful thing to say. Niji replied sarcastically while acting like he was offended. You're completely right, Niji. I must cleanse myself of this youthfulness by running 500 laps around Konoha. Lee said as he took off at an unbelievable speed. Niji just stood there sighing at how embarrassing his teammate could be. I'm starting to think I should have taken you up on your offer, Naruto-sama. Niji said, walking after Lee. Konoha shopping district. So, Akane, where do you live? Tenten asked her. Oh, I live with Naruto-kun, Akane answered back playfully. To say this shocked Tenten was an understatement. She lives with Naruto-kun. How can I compete with that? Tenten thought. At that moment, Akane saw a store that caught her eye. Naruto-kun, let's go in that one. It has really pretty lights. She said, pointing to it and walking in through the front door. I swear, sometimes she has the mind of a child. He said to no one in particular. At least you're still sane, Tenten. He stopped when he noticed that she was no longer by his side. It does have pretty lights. Tenten said, captivated as she walked in after Akane. Naruto just sweat dropped and went in after the two of them. Hello, may I help you? A female clerk asked as she walked up to Akane and Tenten. Well, all of my old clothes got misplaced when I moved to Konoha, so I was wondering if there was anything that looks good on me that you might have. Akane asked. Oh, of course we do. Come on, I'll show you. She said, dragging her and Tenten off to the back of the store. Naruto just decided to walk behind them so as to not get in the way. So is he your boyfriend? The clerk whispered into Akane's ear. Oh, he's not my boyfriend. Well, not yet anyway. She said while blushing softly and looking back at him. Naruto, not noticing the blush on her face, smiled back at her with his ever-famous foxy grin, which made her blush even more. Oh, I see how it is. Well, I know plenty of things that will knock him out. She said, grinning ear to ear. She had seen situations like this plenty of times before. Naruto-kun, we'll be back in a second. Just make yourself comfortable or something. Tenten said the following after Akane. Great, what am I supposed to do now? Naruto thought as he checked his surroundings, only to find nothing of interest. I guess I could go look around. I do need some new clothes anyway. He thought about walking toward the men's section of the store. He began to look through some of the racks of clothes when he realized one important factor. He was fashion impaired. With that mindset, he began to look around for someone who knew what they were doing. After wandering throughout the section, he came across two more female employees that were conversing amongst themselves. Excuse me. I'm trying to find some new outfits to wear, but I have no idea where to start. So, I was wondering if one of you could help me. He asked, giving a small smile and rubbing the back of his head in pure and I'm fashion. Do you mind? We're on our breeze. She stopped as soon as she turned around to look at him. He had the most beautiful blue eyes and perfectly tanned skin with matching well-toned muscles to match. In other words, he was drop-dead gorgeous. Her and her co-workers' mouths suddenly hit the floor and they instantly froze up. Hello. Naruto said, waving his hand in front of her. Are you alright? I'm more alright than I've ever been, she said absent-mindedly as she stared into his eyes. What? Naruto asked, failing to hear her properly. Oh, nothing. Now, what was it that you wanted? The second girl said, trying to knock the other girl out of her daze. I was wondering if you could help me out. He replied. Sure, we'd be glad to. The first girl said, rushing into the middle to find him something. She found a few pairs of clothes and ran back to him. Here, try these on, she said, tossing him a huge pile of clothes. He barely managed to catch them and stumbled back a bit. He then walked toward the dressing room. After a minute or two, he came back out. Alright, how does it look? He asked, pulling back the curtain and stepping forward. He was wearing a pitch black, short-sleeved shirt with a leaf symbol and Konoha written in red. A long-sleeve, dark green jacket was over the black shirt with dark green pants to match the jacket. Both girls stood there with their mouths agape. That looks so hot. Alright, try this one on. She said, walking up closer to him and handing him another pair of clothes. That looks good, but I bet you'd look even better with them off. She thought as she stood back in order for him to go. He went back into the changing room and donned another pair of clothes. Okay, what about this one? He said, walking out in another outfit. It was a pure white short-sleeved shirt with a solid red and blue line running parallel horizontally across the upper part of the shirt. There was another white shirt with long sleeves under the first one and white cargo pants to match the shirts. Trying my best to describe the outfit Ichigo wore in the first opening of Bleach during the guitar part. Once again, both girls felt like jumping on top of him and making out with him but barely restrained themselves. A few surrounding people, and by people I mean women, started to gather around Naruto's dressing room. It seemed as if with each outfit he tried on more and more women would gather around, and each time he came out they would start howling and whistling or yell something about having his baby. It was beginning to become like some sort of fashion show, only there were male models, and Naruto was the only one. After about 12 or 13 more outfits, Naruto decided to call it quits. Alright, I think that's all. Naruto said, pulling back the curtain and walking towards the two employees. Isn't there just one more you'd like to try on? One of them said hopefully. Not really. I'm pretty sure I just bought enough clothes to last me the rest of my life, Naruto responded sarcastically. But thanks for everything. You guys are the best. He said, smiling at them while walking away to go find Tenten and Akane. Bye, they both said dreamily while waving back at him. Naruto walked around the store looking for his two fellow shinobi before finally giving up and sitting down on a bench. As if on cue, a certain red-haired female walked up behind him and tapped his shoulder lightly in order to get his attention. He slowly turned around, expecting to see Akane, but he got a little bit more than he bargained for. Akane stood there in a short-sleeved light blue shirt that accentuated every curve of her body. It had the words "Wave Body" printed on the front. All of that coupled with a short jean miniskirt put it all together. Tenten was wearing a blue kimono with a white dragon imprint slinging across the top and small white lotus flowers adorning the various spots on the outfit, complete with a matching fan. "What do you think, Naruto-kun?" both Tenten and Akane asked as they spoke as seductively as possible, while Tenten partially masked her face behind her fan. Naruto did what any self-respecting male would do, he turned beet red and passed out. "I told you he would pass out." The employee that had helped them previously said as she strolled up to them. "So would you be paying in cash or check?" "Oh, don't ask us. He's the one you should ask." "Go wake him up," Akane. Tenten said, pointing at the unconscious blonde. After several minutes of trying, she was finally able to awaken him. "Good, you're awake. Now, how will you be paying for all of this?" she asked. "I guess in cash." "How much stuff did you two buy anyway?" Naruto asked Tenten and Akane. "Oh, not a lot, just a few essentials," Akane said, trailing off with a slight hint of innocence in her voice. "This is going to cost me a lot, isn't it?" Naruto said in a melancholic tone. "Oh, you bet it is." Tenten replied, ruffling his hair a little bit. It was then that Akane noticed the bag in Naruto's hand. "What's that in your hand, Naruto-kun?" she asked. "Oh, this, just some stuff I bought." He responded while shrugging his shoulders. "You actually bought clothes?" Tenten said wide-eyed at him, to which he responded with a nod. "Well, I can't wait to see you in them." Akane said with a smile on her face. "Thank you, Akane-chan," Naruto said, smiling back at her. "Sorry to break up your love fest, but we still have places to go." Tenten said impatiently. Alright. "So how much is this going to cost me?" Naruto asked the employee. "Outside the store. I can't believe it cost that much," Naruto said, staring at the receipt as the trio walked out of the store, with 5 or 6 Naruto clones walking behind them, all carrying bags full of clothes. "Oh, don't be mad, Naruto-kun. We'll make it up to you somehow," Tenten said, patting him on the back. "And just how do you plan to do that?" he asked sarcastically. "Well, Tenten stuttered as she looked around. "Actually, I have an idea." Akane said. She then turned to Tenten and began whispering in her ear. As soon as she was finished, they both turned to Naruto and stared at him with a devilish smirk on their faces. "Well, this can't be good." Naruto thought as he shuddered at the thought of what they might possibly be planning. "Hey, Naruto-kun, before we go, do you mind if we go to just one more store?" Akane asked, putting on the most innocent voice she could muster, while still having a sinister smile plastered across her face. "I really don't have a choice now, do I?" Naruto replied. "No, not really," Akane said as she grabbed him by the hand and dragged him while Tenten covered his eyes with her palms. "Where exactly are we going anyway?" Naruto asked. "Oh, you'll see." The crimson-haired beauty replied. "Another part of Konoha shopping district." "You've got to be kidding me." Naruto said, gaping at the sight in front of him. Somehow, in the back of his mind, he had imagined a situation like this happening when Akane mentioned one last store, but never actually expected it to happen. "What's your problem?" Tenten asked him, putting a hand on her hip. "What do you mean, what's my problem? That's a damn lingerie store. I can't go in there. People will think I'm a pervert." Naruto yelled at her in different attitude. Somewhere else in Konoha, a certain white-haired sneezed many times. "Oh, Naruto-kun, don't worry about it. As long as you're with me and Tenten, everything will be fine." Akane said, giving him a reassuring pat on the back. "Okay, fine. Let's just get in and get out." "Alright." Naruto said, taking a deep breath in order to calm down. Then just as soon walked in, Tenten motioned for Naruto to take a seat on a nearby bench, to which he obliged. "We'll be out in a second, Naruto-kun. Just be a good boy and we will be out in no time." Akane said while patting him on the head like a dog. He sighed and leaned back in his chair, his hand behind his head. "Somehow I just know this is going to end with me on the floor in a pool of blood." He said in an agitated tone. Naruto looked around the room, carefully making sure not to stare at any of the outfits that so brazenly adorned the racks of clothes. There were a few women in the store, mostly in their 20s and 30s. What surprised him the most was that they hadn't given him a second glance when he was dragged through the door. They actually giggled when they saw how he was doing his best not to seem like a pervert by closing his eyes and looking straight up. There are only 2 reasons why a man would be in a lingerie shop, anyway. One was that he was forced by his girlfriend, wife, and so on to give their opinion on certain outfits, or 2, they were a pervert that just so happened to sneak in. Obviously he was the first one. He shifted his gaze to another person in the store who happened to be male. The man was obviously trying to hide something or from it because he was doing his best to cover his face with his hoodie. Naruto wasn't getting a good vibe from the guy, so he decided to just keep an eye on him for now. Naruto was jostled out of his thoughts by the voice of a certain bun-wearing kunoichi. "So, Naruto-kun, do you like what you see?" Tenten asked in the most seductive way possible as she winked at him. Naruto slowly turned his head only to find her leaning up against a wall. Of course, to make it even worse, Akane was basically doing the exact same thing on the other side of the wall, wearing an outfit that matched Tenten's. The blood that came out of Naruto's nose was almost equivalent to the water in the lake at the valley of the end. "Yep, I'd say this is definitely a keeper." Tenten said as Akane nodded. It is a keeper. But I'll possibly use it more on Naruto-kun in the future than you will, Tenten. Akane thought, while still having an innocent smile on her face. On the other side of the store, a certain man wearing a hoodie was watching through binoculars. How the heck did that guy get two hotties like them? Especially the Reed. She's on fire. He thought of shifting his gaze over to Akane. His eyes were about to pop out of his head at the sight of the crimson-haired mistress. He decided to get a closer look and walked inconspicuously to a position as close as possible. As soon as he was situated, the girls then went back into the dressing room to change into yet another life-threatening outfit, for Naruto that is. I've got to learn how to stop that from happening. Naruto said, clutching his head and slowly picking himself up off of the ground. He situated himself back onto the bench and slowly closed his eyes, his head still hurting from all of the blood. The man with the hood thought he was going to sleep and took the initiative to take a peek into Tenten and Akane's dressing room. As he was about to succeed in his mission, Naruto then appeared out of nowhere and held a kunai up to his throat. There are many ways for a shinobi to kill someone. Thousands, maybe millions, of ways. There just happens to be about 147 ways I could kill you right now, or cut off a certain friend of yours. Care to try one? Naruto said in a very bored tone, but radiating killer intent by the gallons. The guy almost wet his pants right there. If you want to live, I suggest you run right now and never let me see you again. Cause if you don't, I'll kill you. Plus, the Hokage isn't a fan of perverts, so she would probably encourage me to kill you. Naruto added. Taking the hint, the guy then ran out of the store at full speed. Feeling proud of himself, Naruto then returned to his seat on the bench. Several more outfits and nosebleeds later, Akane, Tenten, and Naruto exited the store. Wow, that place is great. I can't think of anything lower than those prices. Tenten said, staring at the receipt. Well, there is my red blood cell, count. Naruto said sarcastically, trying to get the both of them to feel guilty. Anyway, it was really fun shopping with you two. We should do it again sometime. Tenten said, walking up to Akane and giving her a friendly hug. She then walked over to Naruto, who held out his hand expecting to receive a handshake or something of that nature. Instead of that, Tenten quickly leaned forward, giving him a quick peck on the cheek. Bye Akane, bye Naruto-kun. She said as she sprinted toward the direction of her house, her bags of clothes in tow. Hey, I was going to kiss Naruto-kun on the cheek, Akane yelled angrily in her mind as she stood there with comical fumes coming from her ears. Naruto noticed this and decided to see if anything was wrong. Akane-chan, are you alright? Naruto asked, slightly fearful for his life. Of course I'm alright. What could possibly be wrong? She yelled in a very agitated tone. Maybe we should just go home. Naruto said while sweat dropping. Naruto's apartment. I hope Akayu didn't do anything bad while we were gone, Naruto said, fishing around in his pockets for his keys. He's a 9-inch tall fox, what could he have possibly done? Akane asked in a tranquil tone, having calmed down from her anger on the way back. Naruto then slipped the newly found key into the lock and turned it to open the door. Hey, Bakaniko, we're home. Naruto yelled as he, Akane, and about 12 cage bunchins all walked into the small apartment. Once they were all inside, they put their bags onto the ground and then disappeared in a cloud of smoke. As soon as they vanished, two little fox ears perked up from behind the couch and a small fox ran up to Naruto's feet. Tell me you brought Raymond with you or I'll slaughter you. Kaiju said impatiently. Why would I bring you Raymond? Naruto said, strolling over to one of his cabinets and opening it up. There's plenty in. Naruto was horrified at the sight in front of him. Every last cup of ramen he had was gone. He swiftly walked to another cabinet and opened it up, only to find nothing in that one either. Every cabinet he had was completely empty. You idiot, what the hell did you do with my ramen? Naruto yelled at the little fox, veins emerging from his forehead. It was then that he noticed all of the disposed ramen cups in his trash can, plus the fact that Caillou burped as soon as he finished the previous question. You ate all my ramen? Naruto screamed, ready to strangle the life out of him. Don't get your kunai in a bunch. We'll just buy some more tomorrow. Caillou said indifferently. But what are we going to eat tonight? Akane asked as her stomach growled. Good thing I keep an emergency supply of ramen just for such an occasion. Naruto said, stepping on a floorboard and propping it up to reveal extra cups of instant ramen. Why do you keep food hidden under the floor? Caillou asked. Well, you never know when you could get robbed. Naruto replied. They all sat down and ate dinner, Caillou eating the most thanks to his addiction to ramen. Once they had eaten their fill, Caillou went to his usual place on the couch and drifted off while Naruto and Akane went into their room. So what did you buy at the first store that we went to? Akane-chan, Naruto said, getting ready for bed by taking off his shirt. Oh, you know. Just random stuff. But I bought the cutest little ninja outfit. She said, walking into the bathroom and changing into a nightgown that she bought at the lingerie shop. Really? Can I see it? Naruto asked hopefully. Nope, you'll have to wait. She said, walking back into the room and pulling back the covers. Fine, if you say so. He replied. But I'll bet you look cool in it. Added, to which she blushed in response. Good night, Akane-chan. He said, closing his eyes and going to sleep. She stared at his slumbering form for a few moments, thinking if she should go through with what she had in mind. She curled up to him, putting her leg between the both of his and wrapping her arms around his torso, and gave him a slight peck on the cheek before resting her head on his chest. "Sweet dreams, Naruto-kun," she said, closing her bright blue eyes and dozing off. The light of morning crept slowly through the small window in Naruto's bedroom and shone in the face of the slumbering blonde. His vivacious blue eyes were exposed to the radiant stream, and he slowly opened them. The moment he did, he instantly shut them. A bright light shining in your eyes isn't exactly the most pleasant thing in the morning, and Naruto Uzumaki isn't exactly a morning person. He then turned his head to the gorgeous beauty with long locks of scarlet next to him. The way the glow of the light reflected off of her perfect skin made her seem so innocent and angelic. Naruto brushed a stray strand of hair from in front of her face and pushed it to the side with his index finger, which caused her to smile in her sleep. Beautiful was the only thing he could say as she stared at the sleeping form beside him. But apparently he said it a little too loud, for Akane awoke at the sound of his voice. She gradually opened her eyes to see the blonde she had kissed the night before. "Good morning, Naruto-kun," Akane said, stifling out a yawn and sitting upright. "Did you say something?" "Oh no, I didn't say anything," he said, hoping that she didn't hear him. She sat up and crawled out of bed to sit beside him. "So, what do you have planned for today?" she asked. As if on cue, a messenger bird flew toward the window and hovered in the air, waiting for entrance. "That's strange. What's a messenger bird doing here?" Naruto questioned, striding towards the window and slowly opening it. The bird quickly flew in and landed on a nearby lampstand. Naruto reached for its leg and untied the message. The bird, fulfilling its purpose, then flew back outside and off to the Hokage Tower. Naruto unrolled the scroll and noticed a summoning seal on it. He activated it, making a cloud of smoke appear in the room. Both he and Akane covered their eyes. The smoke cleared, revealing a certain silver-haired standing where the scroll once was. "Kakashi-sensei, what the hell are you doing here?" Naruto yelled, surprised at seeing his teacher standing in the middle of his bedroom. "It's nice to see you, Naruto." Kakashi replied in a sarcastic tone. "Couldn't you have come through the front door like normal people?" Naruto asked, irritated. "Yeah, I could have. But you know how I love to make a flashy entrance," he said cheekily. He then looked around the room, noticing the scarlet-haired female on his bed in very revealing clothing and Naruto in nothing but his boxers. "Well, Naruto. It looks like we've been engaging in some late-night activities. But aren't you a little too young for that?" Kakashi said, smiling under his ever-present mask. "Are you freaking insane? I'm only 15. You wouldn't have even thought of something like that if you would have stopped reading that perverted crap that Iro-senin writes." Naruto yelled at the top of his lungs, while Akane hid her face and blushed redder than a tomato. "Calm down, Naruto. I was only kidding." Kakashi said while Naruto just mumbled things about perverted teachers and kicking his elder sensei the next time he saw him. "I actually came here for a more productive reason," Kakashi said, turning serious. "And that would be?" Naruto questioned, crossing his arms and tapping his foot impatiently on the floor. "Well, I'm here to test Akane's skills as a certified kunoichi of Konoha," he said, holding up a document with Tsunade's signature on it. "Really? Finally, I'm going to be a kunoichi. Wait, I don't know how to be a ninja." "Ah, this is horrible," she said, becoming depressed in a comedic fashion. "Does she always do this?" Kakashi whispered to Naruto while both of them sweat dropped. "Only once a day." The blonde shinobi replied. He then walked up to her and gave her a reassuring pat on the back. "Don't worry, Akane-chan. I'm sure you'll do fine. I mean, you're basically the freaking Kyuubi. You could probably kick anyone," he said, giving her a small smile. "Thank you, Naruto-kun. I needed that. Do you want to come and watch me?" she asked hopefully. "Sorry, I can't. I've got to go to the grocery store thanks to a certain greedy fox kid. How about you just tell me everything when you get home?" "Okay," he replied, trying not to hurt her feelings. "Okay, Naruto-kun," she said, beaming at him. "Alright, meet me at the training fields at 8 o'clock, sharp. Anyway, see you." Kakashi said as he poofed away. "But that's only 20 minutes away. I can't reach it that fast." Akane said. "Oh, don't worry about being on time. You don't have to get there until at least 10. Naruto said sarcastically as he recalled scenes of his teacher's chronic tardiness in his mind. "Oh, I see. It's like a test. Shinobi must not trust everything they hear. If I come at 8, he might spring a trap on me." "Very clever, Kakashi-sensei," Akane said, feeling proud of herself at seeing through his deception. She rushed into the bathroom to freshen up. Actually, Naruto began to go on, but just decided to let it go. Kakashi-sensei isn't dedicated to teaching enough to actually think of something like that, he thought, while smirking inwardly. "Hey, I'm hungry, so go cook me some breakfast." Caillou said, waking up from his sleep and walking into the room. "I can't, Baka Nico, you ate all of the ramen, remember?" Naruto responded angrily. "Well then, take me out to eat." "I don't care, I just want some food." Caillou said as his stomach growled. "Okay, I'm off. "See ya, guys," Akane said as she rushed out of the door. She was wearing a purple kimono top that came down to 2 inches above her knees. There was also a long crimson sash tied around her waist with the ends hanging down to just below the back of her knees. In essence, it was pretty much the exact same outfit that Tamari wore when she saved Shikamaru from Taiya, minus the fan that is. She swiftly leapt out of the doorway and closed the door with a soft click. "Now, go get me some food," Caillou demanded with a harsh tone. "Fine, whatever. I'll just bring you back something," Naruto said, going into his room, changing into a black shirt with dark green cargo pants and a dark green jacket that was by no means loose-fitting, and grabbing his frog wallet, which he so aptly named Gama-chan. He began to tread out of the door when Caillou suddenly jumped up on his shoulder. "And just where do you think you're going?" Naruto asked the miniature fox quizzically. "I'm going with you." "Well, I may not like it, I do grow weary of this apartment." "What's so wrong about that?" Caillou replied emotionlessly. "Well, let's see. You're a fox, with 9 tails no less. If people see you out in public with a demon child, who knows what would happen?" Naruto responded, fearing what the villagers might do upon seeing a mini Kyuubi. "Don't worry about it, I have it covered," Caillou said as he jumped off of Naruto's shoulder. "What the hell is that?" Suppose Naruto trailed off as he witnessed the sight before him. Caillou was bathed in an eerie crimson glow that surrounded his small frame on all sides. His 9 tails then shot up straight into the air, and 8 of them then slowly retracted into his body, leaving 1 tail behind. "See, no problem. Now, let's go," Caillou said quickly as he once again hopped up on Naruto's shoulder. "Well, I guess that could work. But you can't speak human language. Normal foxes don't do that," Naruto said approvingly, and with a soft click of the door, they were both out of there. Training fields, 10 a.m. Akane walked slowly into the training grounds, looking every direction for a possible trap that might spring. She suddenly let her guard down when she noticed Kakashi sitting on a rock near a tree, reading in a strange orange book. She strolled slowly over to him, keeping an eye on him for any tricks he might pull. "Oh, Akane-chan. I was wondering when you would show up. I had a trap set up for you and everything at 8, but you took a page from my book and decided to be late," Kakashi said, closing his book and standing up slowly. "Good thing I saw through your plan, Kakashi-sensei." A kunoichi must not always believe what she hears. After all, she trailed off her last words as 2 kunai came whizzing out from a neighboring tree, intent on piercing her flesh. She instantly spun around, caught both of the razor-sharp knives in her hand, and then threw them at the copy ninja on the rock. Once they impacted him, he disappeared in a puff of smoke. The real Kakashi then walked out from behind a different tree. "And here you thought you weren't ready for this?" Kakashi said sarcastically as he gently clapped his hands for her and did his ever-famous eye smile. "I only said that to get you to let your guard down, Kakashi-sensei. After all, a shinobi must not always believe what they hear." She said coolly as she began to take a fighting stance. "Oh really? Then let's just see what you can do. If you can last just 15 minutes against me, then I'll officially take you on as a student of mine and make you an official member of Team 7. "So, are you up for it?" Kakashi said, slowly drawing a few kunai from his holster. "Screw that, I'll last for 30 minutes. "Believe it," she yelled in response. Now where have I heard that before?" Kakashi thought, smirking, a certain hyperactive knucklehead ninja coming to mind. "Alright, time to make Naruto-kun proud." Akane thought as she put her hands together and began to gather chakra. Both she and Kakashi stared at the other for what seemed like forever. The gentle wind picked up a few stray leaves in its path as the trees swayed gently. It was so quiet, one could hear a pin drop. "Ready?" Akane said as a red aura began to surround her body. "Set," Kakashi said as he pulled his sleeve up, set his watch for 30 minutes, an. "Just pretend he has a watch," and slowly pulled it back down again. "Go." But Naruto and Caillou walked along the road, Naruto with his hands in his pockets and Caillou resting on his shoulder with his tail around the blonde neck. Caillou noticed that his transportation was attracting a lot of attention from the surrounding people. And not the hateful glares that he usually got before he returned to the village. Mind you, there were still some who looked on at him in disgust, but a good majority of them were something he couldn't quite put a finger, or in his case claw, on. Using his extra keen sense of smell, he began sniffing out the different emotions of people. Some were the usual hate-filled smells, 1 or 2 were scents of happiness, and most of them were of, "What the hell is that lust?" Caillou shouted, astonished in his mind. He then took another whiff only to realize that they were indeed scents of lust, and they all seemed to be radiating too. WTF, the dope. He stole a quick glance at the blonde. Naruto still had his usual, oblivious to everything around him face on. Caillou then turned back to the people. But most of the scent seemed to be radiating solely off of the females in the area. He looked to the north to see a group of 3 girls conversing amongst themselves. The girls then looked at the blonde shinobi as he passed them. One of them blushed, another one stared blankly at him, and the last one gave him a seductive wink. Caillou just couldn't believe what he was experiencing. That idiot was attracting members of the opposite gender and some of the same gender as proven by a few males that passed him as he walked down the crowded dusty road. Caillou was jostled out of his thoughts as Naruto's voice caught his attention. "So, where do you want to eat?" Naruto asked the crimson fox on his shoulder. How about something with ramen?" Caillou said. "Fine, I know the greatest place in the world to go for ramen." Naruto said, walking over to his favorite eating establishment. He sat down on one of the stools and twirled around in order to face the counter. "Hey, old man. Are you back there?" Naruto yelled into the back of the stand while Caillou jumped off of his shoulder and onto the stool beside him. The tiny fox kid was still not able to see over the table stand, however. Someone, hearing his call, then approached from the back and walked up to him. "Naruto-kun, is that you?" the person said hopefully, wiping off a ramen bowl with a damp washcloth. "Hey Am-chan. How's it going?" he said, giving her a small wave accompanied with a sly grin. "Oh, everything's fine. My dad is just off delivering some ramen to a customer on the other side of town right now, so he won't be back for a while." She replied gently, setting the now shimmering ramen bowl in the sink with the others. "So, what are you doing here?" "Well, I was just in the neighborhood, so I decided to check up on my favorite ramen girl," Dottie said, grinning mischievously, which earned a blush from her. "Wait, did you hear that?" she asked, taking notice of a sort of purring sound coming from Naruto's side of the counter. Naruto then stole a glance at the fox kid beside him, who was pawing at his leg and purring, seemingly wanting something. "Oh, that's just him." Naruto responded, motioning with his head to the fox next to him. Am looked over the counter to see a fox kid with bright red fur and one bushy tail flowing in the wind staring at her with bright yellow eyes. She stared at him for about 5 seconds until he let out a small meow. "So kawaii," she screamed as she pulled Caillou into her arms, tightly squeezed him, and nuzzled his face with her cheek in pure anime fashion. After what seemed like forever, she finally put him down. "So is he yours?" she asked while scratching his belly, to which he happily purred once more. "Yeah, he's mine. I found him just a couple of days ago out in the woods. After searching for hours for his family, I came across a fox den that was completely empty. I couldn't just leave the little one there, so I took him home with me." Naruto explained. "That's really sweet, Naruto-kun. What's his name?" she asked, switching from his belly to scratching him on the ears. "Well, I named him Caillou," he replied, rubbing the back of his head and giving his usual sheepish grin. "That's an unusual name. But it does kind of suit him, don't you think?" She said, substituting scratching his ears with petting his back gently, which caused him to purr peacefully. "Does he like ramen? Are you kidding me? He can't get enough of the stuff." Naruto said, chuckling slightly. "Well then, how about one bowl for him and you, in the house of course." She said. "That would be great, Akane-chan," he answered back cheekily. She walked into the back of the stand and began to prepare the ramen for the both of them. 5 minutes later, she came out with 2 steaming bowls full of ramen. "Here you go," she said, setting the bowls down and using her hand to wipe the sweat off of her brow. "Thanks, Akane-chan. You're the best." "I did akamasu," Naruto said as he began to dig in. Caillou immediately stuck his head in the bowl and began slurping the noodles as if it were the last bowl on earth. Akane began giggling as she watched the both of them eat. "What's so funny?" Naruto asked to take in another mouthful of noodles. "The two of you just look so funny right now," she said, pointing to Caillou. Naruto slowly turned to face him as the fox did the same to the blonde ninja. Both of them had strands of noodles hanging down from their mouths. They both quickly slurped them up and turned away from each other embarrassedly, which caused Am to giggle even more. They both wolfed down about 7 more bowls. "Well, I think that's about enough. But I have to say, that was some of the best ramen I've had in about 3 years." Naruto said, leaning back and patting his stomach gently. Caillou just let out a small belch before rolling over on his back. "Well, I'm glad you liked it," Am said, picking up their bowls and heading back into the kitchen. As she was walking back, she stepped and slipped on a rag, about to tumble over. She closed her eyes and expected to hit the ground and hear the sound of broken bowls when she was suddenly grabbed by strong, muscular arms. She slowly opened her eyes and realized she was in Naruto's arms. She could feel the warmth radiating off of his body and it made her blush furiously. "You okay, Am-chan?" he asked slowly and in a deep voice that had a hint of concern in it. The way her name rolled off of the tip of his tongue just made her heart melt as she stared into his bright sapphire orbs. Just as she wished that it would last forever, it ended with him helping her stand upright. "Thank you, Naruto-kun," she said, a warm smile plastered across her face. "Anytime, Am-chan. Well, we best be off." "Come on, Caillou." Naruto said as Caillou jumped up to his shoulder and draped his tail around Naruto's neck. "Aye, Am-chan," he yelled as he began to walk off. "Aye, Naruto-kun," she yelled back at him. After he was out of sight, she turned around and noticed a white envelope on the counter. She picked it up and opened it to reveal more than enough money to cover the ramen they both ate. She also came across a letter inside of the envelope. "Dear Am-chan. I couldn't just eat all of that ramen and not pay for it, so I left you this. Hope it's enough. P.S. I left a little extra. You know, to get you something nice. The letter read. Naruto also completed the letter with a chibi picture of him and Caillou at the bottom. She couldn't help but smile at that. As soon as she finished reading, her father walked in. Sorry I'm late, AM. The customer forgot where he left his money. Tucci said as he set some of the dishes he was carrying in the back. Say father, you wouldn't happen to know how old Naruto is, would you? She asked silently but loud enough to hear as she stared off in the direction that Naruto left. Well, you're 16, so he should be about 15. Why do you ask? He asked, confused. Oh, just wondering, she said, hinting at something else. Wondering if I should date younger, that is. Her last thoughts were as she stared at the back of his retreating form. Training fields. The weary red-haired Kunoichi lay sprawled out across the ground, covered in scratches and bruises of all sorts. She tried with all her might to stand up again, managing to lift her head up a small bit, but failed as it plopped back down onto the ground with a thud. This was probably the worst situation she could have possibly been in. She was unable to move her legs at the moment. Kakashi could be anywhere, and she was almost out of chakra. Truly a screwed up situation and truly a pissed off girl. She began to hear whispers from inside her mind. Use the demon chakra, Akane-chan. After all, it is ours. Use the demon chakra, use it. In the distance she could hear a faint noise, probably of someone walking. She lifted up her head as the sound got louder with each passing second. Her eyes rested on the figure of the cycloptic, little orange book in hand, bending down in a squatting position in front of her. Hey, how are you doing, Akane-chan? Kakashi said nonchalantly, not even making. The light of morning crept slowly through the small window in Naruto's bedroom and shone in the face of the slumbering blonde. His vivacious blue eyes were exposed to the radiant stream, and he slowly opened them. The moment he did, he instantly shut them. A bright light shining in your eyes isn't exactly the most pleasant thing in the morning, and Naruto Uzumaki isn't exactly a morning person. He then turned his head to the gorgeous beauty with long locks of scarlet next to him. The way the glow of the light reflected off of her perfect skin made her seem so innocent and angelic. Naruto brushed a stray strand of hair from in front of her face and pushed it to the side with his index finger, which caused her to smile in her sleep. Beautiful was the only thing he could say as she stared at the sleeping form beside him. But apparently he said it a little too loud, for Akane awoke at the sound of his voice. She gradually opened her eyes to see the blonde she had kissed the night before. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Akane said, stifling out a yawn and sitting upright. Did you say something? Oh no, I didn't say anything, he said, hoping that she didn't hear him. She sat up and crawled out of bed to sit beside him. So, what do you have planned for today? She asked. As if on cue, a messenger bird flew toward the window and hovered in the air, waiting for entrance. That's strange. What's a messenger bird doing here? Naruto questioned, striding towards the window and slowly opening it. The bird quickly flew in and landed on a nearby lampstand. Naruto reached for its leg and untied the message. The bird, fulfilling its purpose, then flew back outside and off to the Hokage Tower. Naruto unrolled the scroll and noticed a summoning seal on it. He activated it, making a cloud of smoke appear in the room. Both he and Akane covered their eyes. The smoke cleared, revealing a certain silver-haired standing where the scroll once was. Kakashi-sensei, what the hell are you doing here? Naruto yelled, surprised at seeing his teacher standing in the middle of his bedroom. It's nice to see you, Naruto. Kakashi replied in a sarcastic tone. Couldn't you have come through the front door like normal people? Naruto asked, irritated. Yeah, I could have. But you know how I love to make a flashy entrance. He said cheekily. He then looked around the room, noticing the scarlet-haired female on his bed in very revealing clothing and Naruto in nothing but his boxers. Well, Naruto. It looks like we've been engaging in some late-night activities. But aren't you a little too young for that? Kakashi said, smiling under his ever-present mask. Are you freaking insane? I'm only 15. You wouldn't have even thought of something like that if you would have stopped reading that perverted crap that Iro-senin writes. Naruto yelled at the top of his lungs, while Akane hid her face and blushed redder than a tomato. Calm down, Naruto. I was only kidding. Kakashi said while Naruto just mumbled things about perverted teachers and kicking his elder sensei the next time he saw him. I actually came here for a more productive reason. Kakashi said, turning serious. And that would be? Naruto questioned, crossing his arms and tapping his foot impatiently on the floor. Well, I'm here to test Akane's skills as a certified Kunoichi of Konoha. He said, holding up a document with Tsunade's signature on it. Really? Finally, I'm going to be a Kunoichi. Wait, I don't know how to be a ninja. Ah, this is horrible, she said, becoming depressed in a comedic fashion. Does she always do this? Kakashi whispered to Naruto while both of them sweat dropped. Only once a day. The blonde shinobi replied. He then walked up to her and gave her a reassuring pat on the back. Don't worry, Akane-chan. I'm sure you'll do fine. I mean, you're basically the freaking Kyuubi. You could probably kick anyone. He said, giving her a small smile. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I needed that. Do you want to come and watch me, she asked hopefully. Sorry, I can't. I've got to go to the grocery store thanks to a certain greedy fox kid. How about you just tell me everything when you get home, okay, Dottie replied, trying not to hurt her feelings. Okay, Naruto-kun, she said, beaming at him. Alright, meet me at the training fields at 8 o'clock, sharp. Anyway, see you. Kakashi said as he poofed away. But that's only 20 minutes away. I can't reach it that fast, Kane said. Oh, don't worry about being on time. You don't have to get there until at least 10. Naruto said sarcastically as he recalled scenes of his teacher's chronic tardiness in his mind. Oh, I see. It's like a test. Shinobi must not trust everything they hear. If I come at 8, he might spring a trap on me. Very clever, Kakashi-sensei, Kane said, feeling proud of herself at seeing through his deception. She rushed into the bathroom to freshen up. Actually, Naruto began to go on, but just decided to let it go. Kakashi-sensei isn't dedicated to teaching enough to actually think of something like that, he thought, while smirking inwardly. Hey, I'm hungry, so go cook me some breakfast. Caillou said, waking up from his sleep and walking into the room. I can't, Baka Nico, you ate all of the ramen, remember? Naruto responded angrily. Well then, take me out to eat. I don't care, I just want some food. Caillou said as his stomach growled. Okay, I'm off. See ya, guys. Kane said as she rushed out of the door. She was wearing a purple kimono top that came down to 2 inches above her knees. There was also a long crimson sash tied around her waist with the ends hanging down to just below the back of her knees. In essence, it was pretty much the exact same outfit that Temari wore when she saved Shikamaru from Taiya, minus the fan, that is. She swiftly leapt out of the doorway and closed the door with a soft click. Now, go get me some food. Caillou demanded with a harsh tone. Fine, whatever. I'll just bring you back something. Naruto said, going into his room, changing into a black shirt with dark green cargo pants and a dark green jacket that was by no means loose-fitting, and grabbing his frog wallet, which he so aptly named Gama-chan. He began to tread out of the door when Caillou suddenly jumped up on his shoulder. And just where do you think you're going, Naruto asked the miniature fox quizzically. I'm going with you. Well, I may not like it, I do grow weary of this apartment. What's so wrong about that? Caillou replied emotionlessly. Well, let's see. You're a fox, with 9 tails no less. If people see you out in public with a demon child, who knows what would happen? Naruto responded, fearing what the villagers might do upon seeing a mini Kyuubi. Don't worry about it, I have it covered. Caillou said as he jumped off of Naruto's shoulder. What the hell is that? Suppose Naruto trailed off as he witnessed the sight before him. Caillou was bathed in an eerie crimson glow that surrounded his small frame on all sides. His 9 tails then shot up straight into the air, and 8 of them then slowly retracted into his body, leaving 1 tail behind. See, no problem. Now, let's go. Caillou said quickly as he once again hopped up on Naruto's shoulder. Well, I guess that could work. But you can't speak human language. Normal foxes don't do that. Naruto said approvingly, and with a soft click of the door, they were both out of there. Training fields, 10 a.m. The cane walked slowly into the training grounds, looking every direction for a possible trap that might spring. She suddenly let her guard down when she noticed Kakashi sitting on a rock near a tree, reading in a strange orange book. She strolled slowly over to him, keeping an eye on him for any tricks he might pull. Oh, Akane-chan. I was wondering when you would show up. I had a trap set up for you and everything at 8, but you took a page from my book and decided to be late. Kakashi said, closing his book and standing up slowly. Good thing I saw through your plan, Kakashi-sensei. A kunoichi must not always believe what she hears. After all, she trailed off her last words as 2 kunai came whizzing out from a neighboring tree, intent on piercing her flesh. She instantly spun around, caught both of the razor-sharp knives in her hand, and then threw them at the copy ninja on the rock. Once they impacted him, he disappeared in a puff of smoke. The real Kakashi then walked out from behind a different tree. And here you thought you weren't ready for this. Kakashi said sarcastically as he gently clapped his hands for her and did his ever-famous eye smile. I only said that to get you to let your guard down, Kakashi-sensei. After all, a shinobi must not always believe what they hear. She said coolly as she began to take a fighting stance. Oh really? Then let's just see what you can do. If you can last just 15 minutes against me, then I'll officially take you on as a student of mine and make you an official member of Team 7. So, are you up for it? Kakashi said, slowly drawing a few kunai from his holster. Screw that, I'll last for 30 minutes. Believe it, she yelled in response. Now where have I heard that before? Kakashi thought, smirking, a certain hyperactive knucklehead ninja coming to mind. Alright, time to make Naruto-kun proud. Akane thought as she put her hands together and began to gather chakra. Both she and Kakashi stared at the other for what seemed like forever. The gentle wind picked up a few stray leaves in its path as the trees swayed gently. It was so quiet, one could hear a pin drop. Ready, Akane said as a red aura began to surround her body. Set, Kakashi said as he pulled his sleeve up, set his watch for 30 minutes, an. Just pretend he has a watch and slowly pulled it back down again. Go. Of Naruto and Caillou. Naruto and Caillou walked along the road, Naruto with his hands in his pockets and Caillou resting on his shoulder with his tail around the blonde neck. Caillou noticed that his transportation was attracting a lot of attention from the surrounding people. And not the hateful glares that he usually got before he returned to the village. Mind you, there were still some who looked on at him in disgust, but a good majority of them were something he couldn't quite put a finger, or in his case claw, on. Using his extra keen sense of smell, he began sniffing out the different emotions of people. Some were the usual hate-filled smells, one or two were scents of happiness, and most of them were of, "What the hell? Is that lust?" Caillou shouted, astonished in his mind. He then took another whiff only to realize that they were indeed scents of lust, and they all seemed to be radiating too. WTF, the dope. He stole a quick glance at the blonde. Naruto still had his usual, oblivious to everything around him face on. Caillou then turned back to the people. But most of the scent seemed to be radiating solely off of the females in the area. He looked to the north to see a group of 3 girls conversing amongst themselves. The girls then looked at the blonde shinobi as he passed them. One of them blushed, another one stared blankly at him, and the last one gave him a seductive wink. Caillou just couldn't believe what he was experiencing. That idiot was attracting members of the opposite gender, and some of the same gender as proven by a few males that passed him as he walked down the crowded dusty road. Caillou was jostled out of his thoughts as Naruto's voice caught his attention. "So, where do you want to eat?" Naruto asked the crimson fox on his shoulder. How about something with ramen?" Caillou said. "Fine, I know the greatest place in the world to go for ramen." Naruto said, walking over to his favorite eating establishment. He sat down on one of the stools and twirled around in order to face the counter. "Hey, old man. Are you back there?" Naruto yelled into the back of the stand, while Caillou jumped off of his shoulder and onto the stool beside him. The tiny fox kid was still not able to see over the table stand, however. Someone, hearing his call, then approached from the back and walked up to him. "Naruto-kun, is that you?" the person said hopefully, wiping off a ramen bowl with a damp washcloth. "Hey Am-chan. How's it going?" he said, giving her a small wave accompanied with a sly grin. "Oh, everything's fine. My dad is just off delivering some ramen to a customer on the other side of town right now, so he won't be back for a while." She replied gently, setting the now shimmering ramen bowl in the sink with the others. "So, what are you doing here?" "Well, I was just in the neighborhood, so I decided to check up on my favorite ramen girl." He said, grinning mischievously, which earned a blush from her. "Wait, did you hear that?" she asked, taking notice of a sort of purring sound coming from Naruto's side of the counter. Naruto then stole a glance at the fox kid beside him, who was pawing at his leg and purring, seemingly wanting something. "Oh, that's just him." Naruto responded, motioning with his head to the fox next to him. Am looked over the counter to see a fox kit with bright red fur and one bushy tail flowing in the wind staring at her with bright yellow eyes. She stared at him for about 5 seconds until he let out a small meow. "So kawaii," she screamed as she pulled Caillou into her arms, tightly squeezed him, and nuzzled his face with her cheek in pure anime fashion. After what seemed like forever, she finally put him down. "So is he yours?" she asked while scratching his belly, to which he happily purred once more. "Yeah, he's mine. I found him just a couple of days ago out in the woods. After searching for hours for his family, I came across a fox den that was completely empty. I couldn't just leave the little one there, so I took him home with me." Naruto explained. "That's really sweet, Naruto-kun. What's his name?" she asked, switching from his belly to scratching him on the ears. "Well, I named him Caillou," he replied, rubbing the back of his head and giving his usual sheepish grin. "That's an unusual name. But it does kind of suit him, don't you think?" She said, substituting scratching his ears with petting his back gently, which caused him to purr peacefully. "Does he like ramen? Are you kidding me? He can't get enough of the stuff." Naruto said, chuckling slightly. "Well then, how about one bowl for him and you, in the house of course." She said. "That would be great, Akane-chan," he answered back cheekily. She walked into the back of the stand and began to prepare the ramen for the both of them. 5 minutes later, she came out with 2 steaming bowls full of ramen. "Here you go," she said, setting the bowls down and using her hand to wipe the sweat off of her brow. "Thanks, Akane-chan. You're the best." "I did Akamasu," Naruto said as he began to dig in. Caillou immediately stuck his head in the bowl and began slurping the noodles, as if it were the last bowl on earth. Akane began giggling as she watched the both of them eat. "But so funny," Naruto asked to take in another mouthful of noodles. "The two of you just look so funny right now." She said, pointing to Caillou. Naruto slowly turned to face him as the fox did the same to the blonde ninja. Both of them had strands of noodles hanging down from their mouths. They both quickly slurped them up and turned away from each other embarrassedly, which caused Am to giggle even more. They both wolfed down about 7 more bowls. "Well, I think that's about enough. But I have to say, that was some of the best ramen I've had in about 3 years." Naruto said, leaning back and patting his stomach gently. Caillou just let out a small belch before rolling over on his back. "Well, I'm glad you liked it," Am said, picking up their bowls and heading back into the kitchen. As she was walking back, she stepped and slipped on a rag, about to tumble over. She closed her eyes and expected to hit the ground and hear the sound of broken bowls when she was suddenly grabbed by strong, muscular arms. She slowly opened her eyes and realized she was in Naruto's arms. She could feel the warmth radiating off of his body, and it made her blush furiously. "You okay, Am-chan?" he asked slowly and in a deep voice that had a hint of concern in it. The way her name rolled off of the tip of his tongue just made her heart melt as she stared into his bright sapphire orbs. Just as she wished that it would last forever, it ended with him helping her stand upright. "Thank you, Naruto-kun," she said, a warm smile plastered across her face. "Anytime, Am-chan. Well, we best be off." "Come on, Caillou." Naruto said as Caillou jumped up to his shoulder and draped his tail around Naruto's neck. "Aye, Am-chan," he yelled as he began to walk off. "Aye, Naruto-kun," she yelled back at him. After he was out of sight, she turned around and noticed a white envelope on the counter. She picked it up and opened it to reveal more than enough money to cover the ramen they both ate. She also came across a letter inside of the envelope. "Dear Am-chan. I couldn't just eat all of that ramen and not pay for it, so I left you this. Hope it's enough. P.S. I left a little extra. You know, to get you something nice." The letter read. Naruto also completed the letter with a chibi picture of him and Caillou at the bottom. She couldn't help but smile at that. As soon as she finished reading, her father walked in. "Sorry I'm late, Am. The customer forgot where he left his money." Tucci said as he set some of the dishes he was carrying in the back. "Say, father, you wouldn't happen to know how old Naruto is, would you?" She asked silently but loud enough to hear as she stared off in the direction that Naruto left. "Well, you're 16, so he should be about 15. Why do you ask?" he asked, confused. "Oh, just wondering," she said, hinting at something else. "Wondering if I should date younger." That his daughter last thoughts were as she stared at the back of his retreating form. Training fields. The weary, red-haired Kunoichi lay sprawled out across the ground, covered in scratches and bruises of all sorts. She tried with all her might to stand up again, managing to lift her head up a small bit, but failed as it plopped back down onto the ground with a thud. This was probably the worst situation she could have possibly been in. She was unable to move her legs at the moment. Kakashi could be anywhere, and she was almost out of chakra. Truly a screwed up situation and truly a pissed off girl. She began to hear whispers from inside her mind. "Use the demon chakra, Akane-chan. After all, it is ours. Use the demon chakra, use it." In the distance she could hear a faint noise, probably of someone walking. She lifted up her head as the sound got louder with each passing second. Her eyes rested on the figure of the cycloptic, little orange book in hand, bending down in a squatting position in front of her. "Hey, how are you doing, Akane-chan?" Kakashi said nonchalantly, not even making eye contact, choosing rather to stare at his book. "You can't defeat him without it, Akane-chan. Use the demon chakra. Use it. Use it. Use it now." All of a sudden, a bright red glow began to swarm around her. Her canines grew slightly larger and her eyes turned a crimson red, much the same as her hair. In a blind fury she jolted up and attempted to slash him with two razor-sharp kunai, one in each hand. She came at him hacking, left then right, in horizontal and diagonal slashes. He dodged each and every one of them with amazing grace and skill, before jumping back a great amount, putting a large gap between the two of them. She hurled both at him in a furious rage, screaming and with full intent to massacre him. The kunai connected, piercing the areas where his right kidney and aorta reside. Just when she thought she had finally gotten him, he turned into the infamous log and vanished from her sight. Before she could react, he then bolted up from the ground beneath her, rising fully from the earth and grabbing her head with his right hand. He then pushed down, slamming the back of her head into dirt. She shrieked as she rolled over and grabbed the back of her head in sheer pain. He grabbed her and held her down, hoping to restrain her as she thrashed about. "Akane, calm down. Don't make me have to hurt you," he said in a firm, serious tone. After a few seconds she finally started to show signs of control over herself as her eyes turned back into their normal, vibrant blue, and her teeth slowly changed back into their regular state. When he felt like she had calmed down, he released his grip and squatted down in front of sat like that in silence for what seemed minutes, before Akane began to break out in tears. "I'm sorry, Kakashi-sensei. I don't know what came over me." She said in between sobs as Kakashi just stared at the ground gloomily. "It's alright, Akane." Kakashi replied, trying to calm her down. She ceased crying after a minute or two, and both of them sat like that in silence for a couple more minutes. "Can you just answer me one question, Kakashi-sensei?" Akane said in an almost monotone voice with a hint of gloom in it. "Go ahead," he replied. "What is it that makes you so strong?" Akane said, her face still facing the ground and breathing heavily. "When I first met him, he was so carefree and nonchalant that I didn't think he was . But now that I've fought him, he could even be level. Every movement he makes, every single step, is pre-planned, and not an ounce of it is wasted. No matter what I do, he's 3 steps ahead of me every time. I don't know if I can beat him anymore. It just seems so hopeless. Kakashi stowed his book away in his pocket and looked regretfully at the ground beneath him. He then slowly turned to the Ichiraku on his left and back to the girl in front of him. "It's not what, it's who," he said with a hint of sadness in his voice. "He taught me what it really means to be a ninja. That day, when he died, I learned that there is more to being a ninja than just mindlessly slaughtering your enemies with powerful and destructive techniques. It's protecting those you care for and laying your life on the line for them. Because he who doesn't follow orders is trash, but he who abandons his comrades for the sake of the mission is worse than trash. The desire to lay your life down for others and put them before yourself, that soul truth, Akane, is what truly makes people strong," he said, rising to his feet once more. Akane took everything that Kakashi had said. "I think I understand what he is saying now. All this time, I only wanted to be a ninja in order to get closer to Naruto-kun. I was only thinking about myself and nobody else. He is strong because he protects the people he cares for. Fine, then I'm going to become a ninja so I can protect Naruto-kun from all who want to hurt him. I'm going to get stronger for him. That is now my ninja way and I'm never going to go back on it. Thank you, Kakashi-sensei, for making me realize that. You should gain power to not cause ruin and chaos, but to defend the ones you care for," she said with a genuine smile on her face, while a tear of joy dropped from her eye and onto the ground. "You're welcome, Akane-chan," Kakashi replied back. Perhaps there's hope for her yet, Kakashi thought as a small smirk graced his face. "Now allow me to show that I mean what I say." Her last words were as she turned into a log, covered in explosive tags and exploded only moments later. Kakashi sprung back at blinding speed, avoiding the blast with ease. Wasn't exactly expecting that, Kakashi thought sarcastically as he skidded to a halt. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a random assortment of kunai and shuriken came hurtling out of the woods, all aimed at the copy ninja. He stylishly dodged them all by weaving in and out of them and returning some of his own at the source of them, which none of them hit. All fell silent after Kakashi had thrown his weapons. Out of nowhere, 15 Akane clones fell from the sky and landed all around Kakashi, encircling and trapping him on all sides. "We've got you now, Kakashi-sensei." One of the Akane clones said smugly as they all held a kunai knife in their hand, gripping it tightly. Kakashi looked around at his surroundings before smirking slightly under his mask. "DSCH Genin," he said before rushing one of the clones. He pierced one of them in the stomach with a kunai hidden in his sleeve. Another charged at him while he assaulted the first. Quickly turning around, he stabbed that one in the throat with the kunai and removed it, causing the clone to poof out of existence. 3 other clones then began to charge him. Instead of fighting them, he made a break for it and dashed toward the west. "Quick, after him." One of them said as the others obeyed and were attempting to gain on him. Kakashi sprinted as fast as he could until he reached a medium-sized pond. He subconsciously applied chakra to the bottom of his feet and ran across the water until he reached the middle of the pond. All around the perimeter of the pond the remaining Akane clones encircled Kakashi. "You can't escape this time." One of them said. All of the clones then launched their kunai and shuriken at him simultaneously. Kakashi stood there motionless until the last second when he began to perform a series of hand seals at an extremely fast rate. Suiton. Sujinheki, water release. Water encampment while Kakashi yelled as a barrier made of water surrounded him, protecting him from the oncoming kunai and shuriken. All the weapons thrown bounced off of the wall and sunk into the lake, being too heavy to float. As the wall began to subside, Kakashi began to start performing a long set of hand seals. All the Akane clones looked on in awe at the speed of which he performed him. His hands moved so fast, you couldn't even tell which seal he had made. After 54 seals, he finally stopped on the last one and yelled out, "Tsuriken no Jutsu, water release." Water dragon blast. Suddenly a huge current of water in the form of a dragon came rushing out of the pond, intent on decimating the clones. It swirled in the air for a few moments, as if dancing, before finally crashing down on top of the doppelgangers. All of the clones in the present area were wiped out at once, flooding the remaining area for hundreds of feet. Minutes later, the water began to subside, and Kakashi slowly strolled over to an unconscious Akane that was left behind. Well, what do we have here?" Kakashi asked as knelt over to get a closer look at her. It seemed as though she was shivering, her whole body was quaking, and her eyes were shut tightly. "Do you want to surrender, or will I have to take you down?" again Kakashi asked cheekily whilst smiling underneath his mask. That apparently got a response from the crimson-haired girl. "As if I would surrender to you, Kakashi-sensei. I'm not doing this anymore for myself. I'm fighting so that I can be there to protect Naruto-kun when he needs me, and for that I'm not giving up, ever." "You got that," she retorted, while smirking. "Even if she does fail, I still might pass her. I can tell she means what she says." Kakashi thought as he stared at her with a small bit of admiration. Well then, just how do you plan to? Kakashi trailed off when he noticed the girl he was talking to almost moments ago had now disappeared into thin air. But then he turned around quickly, only to notice 4 more Arcane clones charging at him, all wielding kunai in a straight horizontal line. I swear, she fights exactly like Naruto. But Kakashi took notice of the kunai in each of the clones' hands. She's not afraid to come at me with the intent to kill. Kakashi gathered 4 shuriken in his hands and launched them all at the attacking duplications. Each of them hit their targets, except for the middle Arcane, who jumped up into the air at the last second, effectively dodging it. That's the real one. Kakashi thought as he then launched a couple more shuriken at the airborne girl. Thinking quickly, Arcane performed the ram seal and made another. They grabbed her wrist and twirled her around in midair, throwing her in another direction so that she would not be hit by the shuriken. A single clone to dodge in midair, nice, Kakashi thought as he then attempted to charge her before she landed on the ground. As soon as her feet touched the earth, Kakashi nailed her with a right hook square in the abdomen. But not nice enough. Just when he thought he finally had her, the Arcane he had hit turned out to be another clone and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Again was all he had time to think as his feet were suddenly grabbed by 2 small hands from underneath the ground. Another Arcane then charged him with kunai in hand. With one giant thrust, she pierced him in the stomach. As her hand gripped the kunai, she felt a wetness dripping from where she pierced Kakashi to where her hand was situated on the handle. She then began to fear the worst, that she had actually stabbed the real Kakashi, until she looked down and noticed that it was not blood but, what the hell, water. But it was too late as the Kakashi she stabbed turned into nothing but a puddle of water in a split second. The clone underground was then dispelled just as quickly. Where is he? Where did he go? She thought as she frantically looked around for any signs of the copy ninja. All of a sudden, Kakashi rocketed from the ground and sent an uppercut straight into her jaw, sending her flying through the air and onto the ground about 15 feet away. She landed with a thud and lay face up with her eyes closed. Performing the necessary hand seals, Kakashi held out his hand and began to gather chakra in the palm. After gathering enough, he jumped high into the air and drifted until he was right over top of her. He then performed a nose dive, a crackling ball of chakra in hand, and attempted to pierce her with it. "Valkyrie," he shouted as he plummeted downward and struck, causing an explosion of lightning and smoke. As the smoke began to clear, Arcane slowly opened her eyes to the side of the hand Kakashi performed in about 1 centimeter away from her head, held back only by both of her hands holding his wrist and upper arm. She was completely and utterly worn out. "Looks like you failed," Kakashi said, smiling audaciously. She smirked a little at this. "And just what are you smirking at?" he asked without moving a muscle. With the last of her strength, she grabbed the sleeve of his shirt and slowly, but spastically, pulled it back. After completing the task, she fell back, her hands letting go of this arm, and fell unconscious. Kakashi stole a glance at his watch and stared in awe at the sight he saw. His watch read 10:30 p.m. he said, failing to understand why she did that until he took a second glance. "And 1 second," he said admiringly as he lifted up and stood straight up. At first he honestly didn't believe that she could do it, but after her vibrant display of determination, the heartwarming realization, and the sheer skill that she showed in the face of danger, he now believed that she indeed has a chance. He looked down at her sleeping form which was silently snoring, covered in bruises and cuts of all sorts. In a way she looked peaceful there. He noticed that she was smiling in her sleep, the same way Naruto does when he accomplishes something big, but is either asleep or unconscious at the time. In a way, she kind of reminds me of Naruto. Anyway, I'll let her rest for now. She's going to need it if she wants to survive tomorrow, that is. But Naruto and Caillou, can we go back to the ramen stand tomorrow? Caillou asked silently but hopefully. Why does somebody have a crush on AM? Naruto responded teasingly, while giving him a weird look. "Shut up, I do not." Caillou yelled back in defense and stuck his nose in the air. "Well, I happen to recall you purring like a kitten when she started to scratch you, and you practically begged her not to stop." Naruto said, giving him a teasing chuckle. "Oh really? Well, I didn't exactly see you hesitating when you tried to move closer to Arcane this morning while she was sleeping." Caillou replied wittingly. "You saw that?" Naruto yelled alarmed. "Every bit of it up until Kakashi appeared in the room." Caillou replied, giving a devilish smirk. "Well you see, oh look, the grocery store." Naruto said, trying to avoid the conversation altogether. "Sometimes your stupidity amazes even me," Naruto Caillou thought, his head hanging low while he sweat dropped. "Besides, if anybody liked the ramen girl, it would be you." The fox said, doing his best to get the blonde riled up. "And what if I do?" Naruto said with a devilish smirk. Caillou was about to retort but decided to just let the conversation go. There was really nothing to gain from it anyway. Elsewhere, outside of a local post office, the laziest shinobi in Konohagakure was resting on a bench, his hands behind his head, while he gazed longingly at the white puffs of cotton candy above him. His mission today had been relatively simple. Guide a certain person around the village, helping her with anything that she might need. That is until a fellow shinobi approached him. You have orders from Tsunade-sama, Nara Shikamaru Dottie said, handing him a small scroll. Shikamaru unwillingly took it and slowly unrolled it. After reading its contents, he gave a long exasperated sigh. Can't she find someone else to do this? Shikamaru asked lazily. I'm sorry, Shikamaru-san. She specifically requested you for this A-class mission. Dottie said respectfully. Man, what a drag. Alright, fine, let's just go. The lethargic ninja replied as he slowly stood up and drudgingly walked toward the Hokage Tower. How troublesome. I highly doubt filling out her paperwork could be considered an A-class mission. Dottie thought as he strolled down the streets, his hands in his pockets and eyes closed. Just as soon as he left, someone walked out of the grocery store. Alright, Shikamaru, I'm done now. A blonde 16-year-old girl trailed off as she looked around for her raven-haired escort, only to find him missing. She was wearing a black kimono with a red sash running across her waistline. Her hair was tied up into 4 separate ponytails. Her most notable feature was the humongous fan strapped across her back. From the looks of her, one could obviously tell that she was a kunoichi, but different from the other kunoichi in this village. For you see, the symbol on her headband was not of the Leaf Village, but one of its allied villages, more precisely, Sunagakur no Sado. She was holding a bag full of scrolls of some sort, most likely letters. That lazy nonsense. He promised me that he would show me around town, and the first thing I ask him to do, sit outside on a bench, he goes and wanders off. She screamed in her mind, as anger seemed to radiate from her. She shook her head exasperately. Great, now what am I supposed to do? I don't know where I am and my only guide walked off somewhere. She said in frustration. As if on cue, a certain blue-eyed blonde walked out of a grocery store that was conveniently placed next to the post office, carrying grocery bags full of different kinds of foods. A small red fox was perched on his shoulders, licking its paw the same way that a kitten would. His face was obscured from her view because he was facing the opposite direction. Maybe I could ask him for directions. Tamari thought as she started to walk towards him. I think we've done enough shopping to last us for about 2 weeks. Although with you, it may only be 1 day. Naruto said jokingly. Knowing not to speak when other people are close, Caillou just gave him a small but hateful glare and hopped into one of the grocery bags that he was carrying. Excuse me, you wouldn't happen to know how to get to the Hokage Tower, would you? Tamari asked and gently tapped him on the shoulder. He slowly turned around and faced her. Oh, were you talking to me? Naruto asked innocently. Tamari wasn't aware of what he said because she was too busy taking in the sight in front of her. He could only be described as the most handsome man she had ever seen. Hi, Tamari said dreamily as she waved slightly, a small blush spread across her cheeks. Hello, Naruto said, a little bit uncomfortable. It was then that he noticed her signature 4 ponytails and the giant fan on her back, as well as her Suna headband, and came to one conclusion. Tamari is that you? Naruto asked disbelievingly. Yes, and just who might you be? Tamari said, eyeing him suspiciously and putting a hand on her fan. If this guy knew her name, he might be a stalker or a pervert, or both. And if there were 2 things she didn't like, it was stalkers and perverts. Whoa, take it easy, Tamari-chan. It's me, Naruto. Naruto said, trying to shield himself from impending doom. She stared blankly at him for a few seconds with a puzzled look on her face. She then emitted a blush that rivaled one of Hinata when she realized who it was. I can't believe that I just checked out Naruto, she thought, horrified. She then took a second look at him, ending up stopping at his shirt where his ripped muscles were almost popping out. She could faintly make out a 6-pack under the fabric. Then again, it might not be so bad. Wait, so you're Naruto Uzumaki? She asked doubtfully. It really was hard to believe that this gorgeous man was the little ramen-obsessed boy she knew 3 years ago. Yeah, it's me, alright. Why does nobody recognize me when they first see me? Have I really changed all that much? Naruto pondered sarcastically. So what exactly are you doing here anyway, Tamari-chan? Don't you live in Suna now? Naruto asked as she slightly blushed that he would refer to her like that without a second thought. Yeah, I still do, but I'm sort of like an ambassador between Suna and Konoha. So naturally, I have to stay here over short periods of time every once in a while. This time just happens to be for the Chunin exams that are happening soon. She explained. So, did you quit being a kunoichi or something? Naruto asked. Of course not. I'm not only still a ninja, I'm a. Tamari replied happily. Naruto stared at her blankly before sulking. Why must I be the only genin left? Naruto is thought of as a little chibi. Naruto inside of his mind cried comically. Well, if you're already a, then that means I'll just have to work so hard, now doesn't it? Naruto responded by cheering up and giving her a small, sarcastic smirk, while she gave him an admiring grin of her own. Yep, that's Naruto alright. Say Naruto, since my tour guide sort of abandoned me and all, you wouldn't mind if maybe Tamari stopped as Naruto put his index finger over her lips softly. I would be honored to guide you around town, Tamari-chan. Naruto said softly but meaningfully as a genuine smile graced his face. After he finished, for some unknown reason, Tamari's stomach began to get butterflies. She didn't know why and just finally decided that it wasn't butterflies, but something that she ate. Naruto slowly removed his finger from her mouth, although she wouldn't admit that she liked it. "After you, my dear," Naruto said as he gave a playful bow, and she returned with a giggle. "What the did Tamari just giggle?" Naruto was astonished. "Why Naruto, you're such a gentleman." Tamari responded by going along with it while speaking in a sarcastic tone. "Well, I will try my best," he said as the two walked off. Later that day, 6:45 p.m. "Wow, Naruto-kun. Who would have thought you could get into such a fancy restaurant without a reservation, no less." Tamari said as she and Naruto walked side by side through a pathway in one of Konoha's many parks. They had both just been to one of the fanciest restaurants in the entire village after running a day full of errands that Tamari had to run. Not only was she surprised that he was able to get in, but that they already had a table set up for them, almost as if they were expecting him. The experience had been enjoyable for both of them, but she was shocked at one thing. Naruto practiced good table manners the entire time that they were there. He used the appropriate utensils, was always a gentleman, whether it be helping her sit down or keeping the conversation clean and very appropriate while still making it entertaining, and ate his food very carefully, making sure not to spill a drop anywhere. Overall, she was quite impressed with how things went. "Well, let's just say that I have sources." Naruto replied, picking his words carefully, making sure not to reveal any more information than necessary. The truth was, the restaurant was owned by the Akimichi, and since Naruto was good friends with Choji, he was welcome anytime. "Oh really? Well then," Tamari stopped in her tracks as a chilly wind blew past the both of them. Tamari immediately crossed her arms, trying to conserve as much warmth as possible. "Are you okay, Tamari-chan?" Naruto asked him about the freezing Kunoichi with a deep look of concern on his face. "Oh, I'm fine. It's just I'm not used to the colder air in Konoha, that's all," she replied, putting on a fake smile as another gust of wind blew past. Naruto, being the good guy that he was, set the bags of groceries down onto the ground and took off his dark green jacket, draping it over her shoulders in the process. Tamari was interrupted by the blonde. "Don't worry about it, Tamari-chan, I'll be fine. It is the middle of October and just like you said, you're from Suna. You need it more than I do." Naruto said happily, but Tamari was bewildered and blushing furiously. Nobody had ever been exactly nice to her before. Back when Gaara was a mindless killing machine, she always had to fend for herself. There was no being nice or kind back in those days. You did what you had to do to survive. But this one person, in just the span of a little less than half the day, had almost melted that shell that she forced herself into. For some odd reason, he made her feel secure, feel safe, feel loved. "Thank you, Naruto-kun," she said as she almost let out a small tear, but forced it back. After all, a ninja isn't supposed to show emotion. "Would you mind if we sit down for a bit?" she asked. "Sure, Tamari-chan," he replied as he picked up his groceries and led her to one of the park benches. Tamari sat down gently, putting her fan to the side while Naruto plopped down beside her, setting his groceries down with a thump. When he did, a small noise came from inside the bag. "Oh, I almost forgot you were in there." "Sorry," Naruto said as he reached into the bag and brought out a small fox kit, which just happened to be Caillou. Apparently, he had fallen asleep in the bag and had now just been awoken when Naruto almost slammed the bag down. Caillou was about to retaliate with a witty remark when he noticed the blonde girl to the side of him. "Damn, I can't say anything because she's here." "Alright, what sound do foxes make again?" Caillou pondered before finally coming to a decision. He took in a deep breath and let out a small meow. Naruto stared at him stunned for a second. "Caillou, you dumb." The blonde thought as he stared at it while sweat dropping. "Since when does a fox meow?" Tamari could see through that in a "Oh. It's so kawaii." Tamari practically screamed as hearts formed in her eyes. Naruto then fell over in anime style and got up as quickly as he fell down. "Wow, Tamari-chan, you're not someone that I'd expect to act like that about animals." Naruto said, also sweat dropping at her antics as well. "I know. But how could I not? It's so adorable." "Does he have a name?" she responded, completely losing character and nuzzling his nose while she scratched him behind the ears. "Yeah, his name is Caillou," Naruto answered while Caillou just sent him a hateful glare. Being a part of one of the most powerful demons in history and having a name like that would probably annoy you as well. They sat in silence for a minute before Naruto asked, "Well anyway, how's Gaara doing?" "I haven't heard from him since I left." Naruto asked, trying to start up a conversation. "Oh, he's doing fine. He's a lot more humane than he was before, even if he still doesn't speak more. All he used to do is kill and murder, but now, that's probably one of the things that he despises doing the most. He also treats everyone like actual human beings now. He's so kind and caring, and he'll lay down his life for me and Kankuro and it's just too great for words. He's never been happier in all of his life." Tamari recited it as if it was like his biography. "That's wonderful, Tamari-chan. I'm really glad for Gaara. What is he now, by the way? I'd imagine he would at least be like you and Kankuro. Naruto asked. Oh no, he's Kazekage now. She said innocently as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Naruto's jaw extended and hit the ground beneath him. What the hell, he's the Kazekage, Naruto yelled at the top of his lungs. Yep, and he's actually pretty good at it. After facing you, he realized that he was not put on this earth to kill, but to protect those he cherishes. So, he trained every day, day and night. After about a year and a half of training, he was strong enough to be the Kazekage. And since the fourth Kazekage, our father, is dead, he took on the position. She explained while petting Caillou as he sat on her lap. Wow, Kazekage. Now that you mention it, Kazekage Gaara does have a nice ring to it. Naruto thought out loud as he leaned back in his seat and rested his head on his hands. Yeah, he's actually quite popular now among the village too, especially with girls. You wouldn't believe how many fangirls we have to fight off of him every day. Apparently they like the silent but deadly types. He's just lucky he has that sand shield of his. Temari said jokingly. Really, then maybe I should try the silent but deadly thing. Naruto said with a joking smile on his face. I don't think that would work with you, Naruto-kun. And besides, I like you just the way you are. Temari said, looking back into his eyes. Thank you, Temari-chan, he replied with the most meaningful voice and expression he could muster. He turned back and all three of them lay in a comfortable silence, staring at the setting sun. The way the clouds seemed to reflect the light and the sky turned a golden orange really made the scene before them stunning. You know, I've always admired Konoha's sunsets. Temari said, looking peacefully at the sun as it began its trek downward. Just then, an idea popped up into Naruto's head. Well, I just happen to know the perfect place to see the sunset. Naruto said, grabbing her palm and his grocery bags and heading down the street with her hand in hand. On top of the Hokage monument. Wow, Naruto-kun, you were right. This is beautiful. Temari said calmly as she stared out at the now more vibrant sun. Both of them were lying on their backs on top of one of the faces, the fourth face to be exact. See, I told you so, Naruto replied as he stood up, walked out toward the edge, and stared out at the great ball of fire that was slowly but surely setting. She sat up slowly, in order to get a better look at what he was doing. One day, Temari-chan, my face is going to be up here. I'm going to be Hokage, just like Gaara is Kazekage. He said coolly while still facing the sun. I'll protect everyone in this entire village, and I'll show everyone what Naruto Uzumaki is made of. That's my ninja way. He finished, turning around and giving his version of the nice guy pose. She looked on at him admiringly as the sunset seemed to make a sort of glow behind him, giving him an ethereal look. She noticed that he also looked exactly like Gaara did when he vowed to protect all the people of Suna. This Uzumaki boy was definitely one of a kind, alright. If anybody can do it, it's you, Naruto-kun. Temari thought with a genuine smile on her face. She was shaken out of her thoughts when Naruto called her name softly. Hey Temari-chan, do you know what that is? He asked her, pointing to a strange flower that was growing out of a crack in the sturdy rock. Wow, it's an Aranohana, desert flower. I haven't seen one since I was a little girl. They're really rare in Suna. I didn't even know that they grew in Konoha. She said as she stared at the little ivory flower. Naruto also stared at it until an idea suddenly popped into his head. Well, then it's only fitting, Naruto said as he bent down and broke the bottom part of the stem. Did I give this lovely little flower to a lovely little lady? He said, pushing her right bang aside and sticking it in her hair. This caused her to blush even redder than Hinata. Naruto, she began. Oh man, I almost forgot. I have to get home and cook dinner. I'm really sorry, Temari-chan. He said, feeling sorry that he had to leave her. It's alright, Naruto-kun. May I ask why? We already had dinner, remember? She asked. It's not for me, it's for a friend of mine. She's staying over at my house. He replied. Wait, Temari screamed inside of her mind. She was going to have to find out just who this girl is. Oh, I see. Well, you two have fun then. Temari said, spitefully clenching her fists and trying her hardest not to break out in anger. But I'd be honored if you let me walk you home. Naruto offered, which cheered her up somewhat. That would be nice. She said, smiling and giving him a nod. Konoha Hotel, 9 p.m. The trip to Temari's dwellings was mostly uneventful, other than Temari laying her head on Naruto's shoulder as they walked side by side, which earned a blush from the blonde. Well, here we are, Naruto said as they both stood on the outside of her hotel room door. Yeah, she replied with a depressing sigh, almost as if she didn't want it to end. I had a really great day today with you, though. Same here, Temari-chan, Naruto said, giving her a wink. Well, I guess I'll see you some other time. Hopefully in the near. Naruto abruptly stopped when he felt Temari's soft lips press against his right cheek. Just as quickly as she had kissed him, she pulled back. Don't be a stranger, Naruto-kun, by Caillou-kun, she said, stressing the word kun in the most seductive way possible. It almost made Naruto have a nosebleed right then, and after that she made a small wave towards Caillou. She then quickly closed the door, leaving a speechless Naruto standing at her door. Wow, 2 kisses from 2 different girls in less than a week. Naruto thought as he recalled the kiss from Tenten the day before. Kami must be a man after all. Caillou, who saw the whole thing from his perch on Naruto's shoulders, chuckled a little bit. I wonder what Akane would do if she saw the, Caillou said, hinting at something else. What is that supposed to mean, Baka Nico? Naruto asked innocently. Wow, you're so blind, I don't even know how you make it through the day. Naruto's apartment, 9:30 p.m. Finally, we're home, Naruto said as he busted through the door, setting the groceries down in the process, jumped up into the air, and landed on his sofa. That's my bad, dumb, Caillou said, aggravated. I paid for it so it's mine. Naruto retorted. Why you? Caillou stopped his attack when Akane suddenly appeared in the room in a cloud of smoke. Hey guys, long time no see, she said cheekily. Hey Akane-chan. Did your test go well? Naruto asked hopefully as he shot up from his position on the sofa to stand right next to her. I don't know, you tell me, Naruto-kun. She said as she made a pointing gesture at the brand new 8 around her neck. It took a few moments for it to register in Naruto's brain. Akane-chan, that's awesome. How about we celebrate with dinner? Naruto asked. Well, Kakashi-sensei already treated me to lunch at this nice dango restaurant. I swear that man may look weak and uncaring, but he is a sadist when it comes to training. I'm literally pumping my last bit of chakra into my legs just to support my own body. Wait. She said, pointing to her feet. Well, you better get some rest then. I wouldn't want you collapsing or anything. He said, picking her up bridal style and bringing her into his room, which earned him a bright crimson blush from her. Something tells me she enjoyed that. Caillou thought before he closed his eyes and attempted to get to sleep. Outside. Why can't we just take her right now? He already gave us the order. A shadowy figure asked, stressing the word he, as it and its partner looked through the window at Naruto and Akane. We will strike in the morning. That's an order, and as my subordinate I expect you to follow it. The smaller figure replied aggressively. This mission requires the utmost importance. Did you do as I asked? Yes, I copied down his genetic structure. The first figure replied. Good, then we proceed as planned. Now go. The second commanded as the first vanished in the blink of an eye. The second then began to think to itself. By morning, you shall have what you wish. Orochimaru-sama.